We're going to open the meeting of January 22nd. Open session public meetings are subject to being videotaped. Your image and voice may be recorded. We have our first appointments at 7:10. We have one set of minutes.
Yes.
Okay. I missed them today.
They only came late in the day.
Okay, so it's up to you two if you want to approve or not. January 2nd, did you read them?
No. Why don't you just wait until next week then? Or you want to?
We'll just wait till next week?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
My laptop was being kind of funny today, so I don't know. Okay. The next thing is the Earthworks Board. Earthworks Advisory Committee has approved the earth importation request dated January 2nd by NRP for the apartments at Riverbridge. No problem?
No, we went over them, they're all set. They're good to
Okay.
go.
Right, do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, do we want to talk about the building inspector job title and local building inspector job description?
Is that a yes?
Was that a yes?
I don't know.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm like, do I approach, do I not approach?
Be afraid, Joseph. Be very
Well,
afraid.
you know, I didn't want to.
We were all looking for the paperwork, that's
Oh.
all.
Oh, okay.
I printed out some copies.
All right. Do you need one of these?
I'm good.
Okay.
I based it off of just what I read on the posting for tonight's agenda, so I just wanted to make sure if I'm missing something, please let me know.
Okay. So why don't we talk about do you want to talk about the job description? Well, you can talk about both, I guess. I read through the job description. And the only question I had was, of course, the building commissioner,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't have a building commissioner at this point.
Yeah.
So,
I just based it off of what my license is.
okay,
So I made a copy of the license and
Yeah.
highlighted building commissioner. And that's where I get my titles from the state license that I was given.
right. The only problem I see is that if we were to approve it this way, right now there is no building commissioner as far as a local building inspector. So they might say, there's no building commissioner here, you know.
Well, actually under Mass General Law 143, Section 3,
Okay.
that law actually dictates the positions in the department. My position is, and by my license, is interchangeable with either inspector of buildings, building commissioner, and anybody that works underneath me has a license that's for a local building inspector. So anybody that would be reporting and helping me along with what I do is a local inspector.
Okay. I think there's a process to change your name, your position
Title.
name.
Okay.
Um,
I would argue on that I don't think we have an official building inspector job description. I think that it's always been based on Mass General Law. So since it's based on Mass General Law, I'm pretty sure we're okay.
we don't have a job description?
I'd have to check.
Okay.
But it's always been as appointed
I
building
meant to ask you,
inspector.
actually, but I forgot.
Is there anything in the, about the classifications, the salary classifications too? Are we gonna get caught there?
Yeah, I brought that in actually.
The Berlin ones?
The Berlin, I didn't see any Berlin ones.
The-
No, you know, the whole personnel spreadsheet of step grade all the way across, and there's like, is there one
There's
there for?
none for my position.
You're not on that spreadsheet?
No.
This is all I had, which I think came from the Personnel Committee, but I think that's the local inspector,
Correct, and these were just ranges,
Right.
not.
right?
You were
Did you
asking about the actual, like, big spreadsheet. though.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I don't think I've seen that yet.
Well, you did when you did, when the budgets first came through. Remember, the Personnel Committee had put that out. It was like about this long, it's about this too.
Oh, yeah, multiple
Like a-
pages?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not on that scale. I'm not on the step pay scale.
You have a personnel spreadsheet too, Mary?
Yep. This dates back to '05 when Larry himself sought a copy of the job description. There isn't one.
Okay. Okay. So we don't have one. Do you want to read this?
No, I was
Okay.
pretty sure we did not have one.
Yeah, I didn't know.
I mean, I'm
Okay.
torn because even though through all your licenses and through Mass General Law that Lisa quoted, it's there, but I'm concerned because there isn't a job description, it's not on the personnel spreadsheet, and the last thing I want is for someone to come along and be like, Berlin doesn't have a building commissioner, you can't tell me what to do, and then we're stuck.
Well, in the position that I was hired in, Mass General Law, Chapter 143 is what the town would fall back on, which means that the town shall employ a person, male or female, to uphold and to enforce the building code. I am licensed by the state to do so. The license says building commissioner. I mean, you could call me a purple spotted duck if you wanted to, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the fact is, what I do for the town is upholding Mass General Law 143.
Right.
And including the other regulations that go with it, such as CMR 521 and Chapter 40A and so on and so on. That all fall into those guidelines. So with that, I think the town would be covered.
And anyone licensed is going to be aware of
Yeah,
the Mass General Law. I don't think this is a thing.
I get my license from the Department of Professional Licensure. So,
The only reason I hesitate is because when we put an ad out to hire you, it was for a building inspector.
yeah. So some towns list building inspector, building commissioner, local building inspector. Sometimes it's the director of inspectional services and zoning enforcement. They label them as a number of different things. It depends on what the town wants to label them. When it comes down to when I sign my signature, I go by what I'm licensed as, which is a building commissioner. So
Yep.
I always sign my name and then building commissioner underneath.
I don't see anything on here, but you look. I know, it's so tiny.
Mary, can you order a magnifying glass for the selectmen, please?
Well, I think the intention was that this was a salaried position, which is probably why it's not on there.
It could be, yeah.
All right.
I thought that the personnel had it on their spreadsheet, though. That's why.
Dear God, you were like the queen of information. Thank you. Oh, it's much bigger. It's in a bigger font. Yeah, no, there's nothing on here, so.
Yeah. If we, can we do the job description tonight and we'll solve this other problem after we
Sure.
speak to personnel?
Sure.
Is that good with you?
Motion to approve the job description.
Okay, we'll just take this part and figure it out.
Okay.
But other than that, I had no problems with the job description. Did you, Mary? Peg?
Just a couple questions. So I went surfing around the web for a build, and again, Joe, take these comments as you would comment, you would find. But I didn't know if there needs to be anything in there about that this person would also be responsible for window hours. So like when you're out and about, that there's somebody here.
Yep.
So I didn't know if that needed to be added. Again, document all building code violations. There wasn't anything specific in your job description that said that I had to. Again, I know they're nitpicky, but
No,
I don't want to get caught.
Yeah, they're all valid points. As a matter of fact, the individual that would be coming in would be mimicking my exact schedule.
Okay. advise the public on how to achieve code compliance, counsel other inspectors on code changes, conduct special investigations. That's why I said I don't know how nitpicky you want to get down.
That just last comment would be more along the lines of what the building commissioner does, as far as advising other code officials.
Okay.
Is
Special
there-
investigations too.
Yeah, the local is more of an extension of myself.
Okay.
If it says, and anything else,
Other duties as required?
something like that, then it's probably covered.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I have that in there. Yeah, physical requirements, and then,
I just don't want anything come back to bite us to say, oh, well, I didn't have to. It wasn't in my job. Not that anyone
Well,
would.
If somebody does that and they're employed by you, then you fire them. Problem solved.
Ah!
I mean, seriously.
Okay.
yeah, I think if you look just at the first paragraph of the duties and responsibilities, they work under the direction of the building commissioner. I know building commissioner is something we're working on the wording. But if they're working under the direction of myself, then I could direct them in a fashion that is appropriate, I would believe.
Okay. All right. Other than that, I mean, as long as we're in agreement on that, I'll finally second Lisa's motion.
Okay,
All right.
a motion on the table and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, I have that. And this, I sent this over, I did email it, it was about the compensation on the local inspector. I figured that was, well, last I heard it was discussed last week with the personnel committee. I just wanted to show you where I came up with all the numbers. So I had sent this over as well. It gives a pay scale, it gives the background by how I chose the pay scale and the related documentation to go with it.
And you sent this to personnel also?
I sent
Okay.
it to each one of you, personnel, and then I dropped off a hard copy for tonight.
Okay. So we'll wait to hear back from personnel?
Yeah, we can. I didn't know if they were going to be here, so I brought hard copies for them as well. I'll just put that in their box.
Okay.
And then, did you guys want to touch upon the sanitary thing?
The sanitary thing, is that in here?
Hotel.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
You had made a mention of it. If you don't want to, that's cool. We can move on.
Well, we have an appointment at 7:10, if you can make it quick.
I mean, my only concern, and I read through all the docs, so thank you for sending those over. You know, where it talks about, you know, the homeward suites, that they're responsible, you know, to pick up after the construction, and then after it's built, it goes to the Board of Health. So
Yeah.
I want to make sure that they know who it is, and given this is the second time you had to get involved,
Yeah.
where both times it showed up on Facebook about, look how disgusting the land is. What do we do beyond that? Because are they taking you seriously?
Well, the thing is if they can't pick up the place and make it nice and tidy and neat, the issue that I have, and the only thing that I can penalize them on is if I issue a stop work order or cease and desist due to the fact that they're creating too much trash. If I issue that, then if they continue to let trash go, I can charge them $250 a day as a penalty, just to give them a random charge of, you know, whatever, for not picking up their trash. I don't know. I don't have a fee schedule for that.
Okay.
You'd have to check. Board of Health may have something. I don't know.
I mean, I know that I'd be okay with a shot across the bow. If it was the first time,
Yeah.
second time, no. You know, and as it is, trash is a very big problem for the town of Berlin, and how it's just littered and it's disgusting. To me, you're a good steward. You bring business into the town. You take care of what needs to be taken care of. And if you have to go down and Dave has to go down twice, no.
Yeah.
I think you just go down and be like, hey, this
Yeah.
is how it's going to be. We call you again. You stop, and oh, by the way, here's your fine. Get your checkbook. Don't like it? Come to the board.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
Okay.
we're going this route, though, I think we need to be really, really careful to not be reacting to Facebook posts. We need to verify that there is an issue. We need to make sure that, I mean, because sometimes
I'd
you have
said, too.
something thrown up on Facebook where, you know, maybe they were getting their trash picked up that morning. Maybe,
Yeah.
you know, somebody saw one thing and was having a bad day. you know, this is how Facebook operates. It's not an official channel. I would
Mhm.
prefer to see complaints come into us
In
via
writing.
in
Yeah.
writing, rather than reacting to Facebook post.
But I can tell you that I travel that road to and fro work, and I see the trash there every morning when I go through. So it's there. It's there. Whether it's a piece of foam that's still sitting in the river, whether it's plastic blown across the field, it's there. And I'm thinking, you want people to come into this town and this is the first impression that they get of it? No thanks. So I don't know if maybe we draft something and we give it to the hotel people, we give it to the gas station people, and make sure that Riverbridge, the coffee place on the other side of the road knows it as well, but
If I might make a suggestion, and in my opinion, take it for what you will, but you may want to involve the Sennies, as they have a big part in that property down there. So
Okay.
maybe bringing them in and just asking them if there'd be something that they'd agree to, because I believe they still own the Shell station and all that down there too, and Three Bassett Road, which is that Red Barn Coffee.
Yeah.
And they have a partnership with the hotel, so.
yeah, because I know in one of the other documents that you sent, specifically on River Run, where it said that it would clean up within 100 yards of the area twice a month. So I'm thinking, if it's there, you got to start adhering to it.
Yeah.
Because then that's an easy point to say,
Yeah.
you're not.
Yeah. I'll make sure too that I go by there a little bit more often and take a look around, so that we can probably head off some things that might go on Facebook prior to while I'm out doing my inspections.
And we,
Okay.
we can discuss drafting something if you'd like. And the third time, I think we sent Peg. That would scare them.
I could do that at 7 o'clock in the morning when I'm
Yeah.
running late for work. Absolutely, I will stop by. Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thanks, Joe.
Have a good night.
You too. All right, we have an appointment. This is with MRI as our search committee for the town administrator.
Can you speak up just a little bit, please?
Okay. How's
How
that?
you
Is that
feeling?
okay?
Still not good.
She's
Your
yelling
ears-
at you.
are
She's
yours-
not yelling at me.
She yells at me, I hang up.
I'm the one who always gets yelled at for the quiet voice.
You're always, I can't hear either one of you.
There you go.
Are your ears plugged
Can you
up?
hear me?
I can hear you.
Can the center of town hear me?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi there.
I'm Steve.
Hi, Steve, I'm
Steve
Peg.
Owen.
Nice to meet
Nice to
you.
meet you.
Peg, I'm Bob Mercier.
Hi, Bob, nice to meet you.
Chris.
Chris, pleased to meet you.
Chris, Bob Mercier, we saw you
Nice to
coming
meet
up.
you.
Spoke
yeah,
on the
we
phone.
Yes, yes.
Hi, Mary.
Bob Mercier, how are you?
Sit here.
How are you?
Anywhere, thank you.
All right. So, you put in a proposal for us.
You did, didn't we?
Yes, you did. I don't know if you'd like to go over the most
Sure.
important parts that
Sure.
you'd like to have perhaps the public hear, or?
Well, I'm great with sticky notes, so
Ah,
that means that you can tell that I'm going to be brief,
okay.
because I like small sticky notes. But I'll just tell you, I'm Steve Rollins. This is Bob Mercer. I'll give you a brief introduction, and Bob will give you another brief introduction, and then I'll tell you a couple of things I hope to talk about tonight with you. But basically, I've been with MRI since 2012, and I've worked on over 20 projects with them on recruitment for types of positions like this. I've been in the business of municipal government for 35 years, just with two towns, Weston and Hanover. The last position in Hanover, I was with them for 25 years, and I graduated, if you will, if that's a term that works, all the way from the first full-time town administrator. So here we are, all the way up to all the transitions you can imagine to the first town manager. And that takes you through a special act, just like you've done. So I've helped build it, create it, and implement it. And when Alan said, "What about Berlin?" And I'm a Vermont boy, so my eyes just lit up because this is just the type of situation that I thought I would really enjoy. So that's why this all appeals to me, and I like the whole special act, the size, and everything that you're trying to do. So, you know, personally, it has a great amount of appeal to me. And so you have the proposal, and we'll come back to that in just a minute if we could. And,
Okay.
and if Bob would just pick up from here, we'll just do that.
So I think I'm the older guy here, but that's irrelevant
We're not
at this
arguing
point.
that, no.
As Steve says, I'm Bob Mercier. I've been with MRI since 2013. I retired out of Burlington as the town administrator over there, and I was in Burlington twice, believe it or not. People ask me, you never go back to where you came from. I say, yeah, you do, if it's the right situation. I was also town manager in Billerica, which is a big community. People think Burlington's bigger than Billerica. It's not. Burlington's about 25,000. Billerica's about 40,000. Burlington looks a lot larger than Billerica because of everything that goes on there and where they are on 128. I also was serving interim positions between my positions in municipalities, the main municipalities. I served as an interim in Wayland. It's where I think I met Steve, because he was doing the search for the replacement in Wayland while I was serving as interim. He didn't move quick enough. I was there longer than I wanted to be, but...
There's a story there.
There's a story. Very nice town. I was also serving as an interim for about 6 months in Boxborough. Very similar situation. Small town, very nice town, along 495, going through that transition. What do we really want? Do we want to continue to have essentially administrative assistant, or do we want to move to a more formal town administrator, not a town manager, a town administrator position? They also did it through a special act. In fact, I helped them write the special act for Boxborough, and they've been very successful since. They just had a transition, a change over to another person. The current or former town administrator, he retired. So they've set that up pretty well. And way back when, I won't even tell you how long ago, but I started in Maynard. That was my very first municipal job, essentially as an administrative assistant, because they had no formal structure in their government relating to a town administrator, town manager, or any of that. They didn't have a charter. They didn't have any of that. They subsequently have adopted a formal charter with a strong town manager, and away they go. So I was also, through an interim period, when I left, I started Burlington in 1980 as their first town administrator. They had an executive secretary. I stayed there till '86, and then I went to be the president, chief executive officer of a regional chamber of commerce along 128. In '99, after I served in Billerica, Burlington recruited me to come back. And I did, you know. It was a good situation. It's a terrific town. And I went back. And I retired out of Burlington.
It's not unheard of.
Well, people kept telling me, you never go back where you came from, because too many people remember what you did the first time around.
I can name one at least that I know of that's done that.
Good, I'm glad. So that's my little history. So the bottom line for both Steve and I, we've been involved in this our whole lives, and I have done numerous recruitments, and you've got our stuff. You see, we do recruitments all over New England. Lots over the past 3 or 4 years in Massachusetts. We've got 6 or 7 recruitments going on in New Hampshire right now. New Hampshire is a little different, their governing structure, but there's also a lot of small towns going through this type of thing, trying to figure out what they really want to do in terms of the governance.
Yeah.
So we've got 6 or 7 of those searches going on. We've got a couple in Vermont. Again, mostly small towns. Everything in, the Northwest Territories, for instance, is small towns.
Yeah.
And we've done Rhode Island and Connecticut. So a couple of Maine also. We did the city manager in Portland.
Okay. So, but you're based in New Hampshire.
Based in Meredith, New Hampshire. Steve and I and Buzz Stepsinski, who's the retired manager out of Andover, do the Massachusetts recruitments for the most part.
Okay.
Alan is the president. He's usually involved, kind of overseeing the overall project, but he designates us to go out and do the work.
Okay. And that's not too far, is it?
Oh, Meredith's a nice town,
Yeah.
very nice town.
A couple of the things that I was hoping to, if I may,
Please.
get to, because I know you have the proposal, and obviously you've looked through it and picked up on certain things, but I was going to see if at some point through our discussion tonight, a small thought that had occurred to us when we talked about changing on the timeline, just to fit into what I think is a Berlin scenario. We'll see if that fits with you. And then maybe we could get a discussion going on what you really want in terms of some detail of there's really 4 components of what the whole RFP, what you asked for and what we gave you, because we gave you the comprehensive recruitment. And what I'm getting at is there a refinement here of less?
Okay.
Because if there is less of what you need or want, then there's, of course, the possibility of less of how much it costs. And, we made it clear that if there's a refinement that needs to take place, and we're your preferred vendor, then you have the right to negotiate with us at the back end. I need to be prepared when I leave tonight to go back to Ellen and say, well, they're thinking that maybe they don't need this additional public forum or these meetings. Those meetings are key components, and how many do we need? And then I can say, okay, this is the adjustments that we can make if we become get to a situation where you've asked us to negotiate the price. So this is my only opportunity to gain that information. So I'm hoping for some time on that, if that's where you want to
At
go.
a future date, or this evening, or?
This evening is when I would need to get you can do it the way you want to.
Okay.
I'm just saying I'm prepared to ask the questions, at least to get that discussion going.
Okay.
When you want to answer the questions, that's up to you.
No. As long as you have the questions.
And the other thing, Chris, is that Alan talked to both of us. We were at the MMA conference over the weekend, and he talked to both of us. And he's very flexible. He understands towns have different needs, have different ways of doing things. Right now, Alan and I and Buzz are doing Concord, Massachusetts. Long-established community, long tradition of a strong town manager, long tradition of community involvement, lots of committees. And they wanted us to be aggressive in outreach, but that's just the nature of Concord. And
Yeah.
we've done Lexington, and they're both fairly similar communities that really have engaged active citizenry. And they wanted more, and it was priced accordingly for those communities. They wanted more engagement. We're going Thursday morning, Buzz and I, to meet with the screening committee to talk about the process going forward and all of those type of things. So those are the top end in terms of pricing. My gut in looking at Berlin and what you guys have talked about in the RFP is you probably don't need all of that. So anyway, the point is that from Steve's perspective and my perspective and Alan's, that there's flexibility in all of that. So just to let you guys know.
Okay. All right.
What can we do for you?
Well, let's see if I can find. I know that we do want the townspeople do want to be involved, I'm assuming. Correct me if
That's clear.
No, absolutely. We actually have a really involved community. Our town meetings are very well attended. People are very interested in this project and how we're going to go forward. It's very important to involve our community.
because the community's smaller, it
Yeah.
perhaps wouldn't be as time consuming, but
Yeah.
Well, can we stick on that? Stay with that for a minute? Because I see there's 4 major components that we're looking at. We have community involvement, we have committee involvement, we have professional management involvement, and we have employee involvement. So where does the balance lie? I've got a clear picture to what degree, I don't know yet. We're going to find out right now. But clear, you want community involvement. I've got that.
I think
It's
community and
clear-
even committee involvement could be the same, one and the same.
Oh, there we go. That's good. I mean, you've got a screening committee. You've got
Yes.
a personnel committee. You've got the Board of Selectmen. Your act talks about a hiring committee. Is the hiring committee going to be the same as the screening committee?
Yes.
Are your
Yes.
employees going to be involved on the screening committee? Because your hiring committee in the act talks about employees being on there. So the employee is going to be integrated that way. Or how are the
We
employees going to
actually
be
have
integrated?
an employee, our police chief is
Oh,
on the
that's right.
committee.
Okay.
He's on
Yeah.
the committee.
He's on the
Okay.
committee.
All right.
And to just keep
We were
train.
pretty careful about the makeup of the committee, so you have all of the major components, I think, that you would want to see.
Yeah, excellent. And what size is the
It
search
ended up
committee?
being 8.
It is 8.
We
Okay.
wanted to be around 7, and then we got exactly 8 applications,
Yeah.
and they're all really good, solid applications. So rather than take one out, we went with 8. So we're the oddballs. But there you go.
That's, we've worked with all of the, Concord right now has 7 on the screening committee. Acton had 13.
Mm.
So,
Wow.
you run the gamut,
I know.
everybody.
They get some sort of.
I think
Yeah.
it's a good group that will work well
Good.
together.
Good.
One of the things that we do, and we would set it up, we do an email account. It'd be called berlintarecruitment@mragov.com. And we'll set that up. That's what it'll be. And how will this town participate in it? We've had some good success. What we do, we bring in the people, send in their emails. We do a composite of the information, so it becomes an anonymous interface. But we find that people are willing to share their thoughts rather truthfully. So when it comes back to the search committee or the personnel committee, whoever you want it can be, aired out quite well at that point, because it is good information, but it is not focused or come from anyone else. So it's not a back and forth discussion type of thing. It's quality information. And how will that work here, in your opinion, for public input?
The Town Management Study Committee actually did do a survey, and they got some pretty good response. I think Peg was one of the respondents on that. You don't remember this? You did.
You wanted to be anonymous. There it goes. It's gone, huh?
So,
Your
and
secret's out
the
there.
committee actually followed
There's
up.
many of my secrets that are already out after sitting at
The
this
committee
table, thank
actually
you.
followed up with each individual and got some very good
Oh,
feedback
okay.
that way. So, yes, there was,
There's a bit of a history of success doing that.
yes.
Because you have a web page. I mean, you are online. You have active.
And we will have
Online.
a new webpage, hopefully mid-February, that is a little bit more user-friendly than what's out there now. So that
Right,
also
so
provides
that's going to be a good
opportunities.
platform. Okay, so we should probably do that.
Yeah,
And
the
what
interesting thing that
about-
Steve talked about is with that personal email address, a lot of people are, I don't want to say reluctant, but I will.
Hesitant.
Hesitant to send a message to the town about what they would like to see. They're more comfortable sending it to a
Not so
third
true
party.
here.
I don't know, I've found people are pretty forthright.
Oh, good, good.
Not so here, maybe, huh?
But we have found that
Well, there are some,
we got a
I'm
lot
sure.
of good information from people who wouldn't necessarily express in a public forum. That is anonymous, and we keep it anonymous. As Steve says, when we provide the selectmen with comments, we summarize what those comments are. We don't say who it came from or any of that, just so you'll have a sense as to what people are telling us. And people are feeling pretty comfortable. It varies, bigger towns like Acton and Lexington, we probably had 15 or 20 emails that were sent to us by various constituencies that we shared with the appointing authority in a summary format, so that they sort of had an idea what people who didn't want to express it publicly were thinking about. So it's a useful tool.
Worthwhile. So to finish that component, but specifically, how many meetings, public forum type of meetings, do you think that we would be sponsoring, attending?
You mean general
Concurrent.
public?
Yes, meetings.
Well, how many of you,
Maybe
how-
two.
typically, how many of you had? I mean,
Oh,
you
it varies
had.
by town.
Well, that's what I was going
What
to
do
ask.
you want?
So on
really?
a, on a town our size?
I think
Okay.
you'd be lucky if you got plenty of
Two.
people at one, maybe two.
Okay.
We've typically done, and I'll give you an example, in vested communities, like, and I know they're bigger, but Concord wanted 2 open meetings for people, different times of the day, one at night, one during the morning, because everybody can't go to, that type of stuff. They wanted me to meet with all of the departments, and that's not a public meeting, that's with the departments, so I could brief them on the process, what was going on, what was timing, all of that stuff, receive input, what they would like to see. It's a little different, I admit, because they have a retiring 13-year manager, a 25-year manager that they were very comfortable with. So there's a little bit of trepidation, even amongst highly professional departments. They're saying, well, now what? So they wanted to just talk to me a little bit. So that was a meeting that they scheduled. And then they scheduled what they called a committee meeting. And that's a public meeting. And that was at night, where a lot of your committees are volunteers, and they can come out and just express, whether it's a Board of Appeals member, planning board, whatever it happens, school committee, whatever it happened to be, can come out and just talk about what they'd like to see.
I'm guessing that 2, perhaps 1 during the day for employees
Okay.
and whoever else might want to come, and then 1 in the evening.
Yeah, I
Does
think
that
a lot of
sound
your
right?
boards and committees would probably attend something in the evening. I'm not sure you would have to
Sure.
do that separately.
And you could do
Okay.
that with general public, too.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So-
saying.
Yeah.
It would be,
Is that resonating with the rest of the board, that the daytime one would be the employee one,
Oh, yeah.
department head one?
think so.
I agree.
So we're actually checking that box right now with that meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm looking at 2 meetings? And if it's
Well,
3, it's
there-
3, but 2 meetings? that we
No, I
can-
think 2.
Okay.
Probably good.
So we'll put one meeting under
Depends how your
public
first one
and
goes.
one
Will
meeting
depend
under...
upon your population for the second one,
Yeah.
just saying.
How the word gets out.
Do you advertise these?
We'll go with
Together?
your...
Like if one wanted to, if an employee couldn't make it in the daytime,
Well,
they could come at night and so on
Absolutely.
and so
I mean,
forth.
I would think it'd be
Right.
scheduled out, here you go, this is what's going to happen on the schedule.
Yeah, we want
Hit
people
one,
to feel
hit both,
comfortable with
whatever.
this whole thing.
Yeah, I agree.
I
It's
get
your first
that.
time you're moving
I get
into
that.
a professional
And
TA
there
type
were,
thing.
there were,
Yeah.
there were quite a few questions that I got
I
that I
believe
had
it.
to relay to
I believe it. Yeah.
the study committee, so.
Sure.
and the study committee also spent a year and a half putting this together, so they're a very good source of information, and they did talk to each town employee multiple times, so they are a very good source of information.
Is
So they've
the
done their
study
homework.
committee, where's the study committee represented in what we've talked about so far? Are they on the search committee?
They are not on the search committee.
Are they on the personnel board?
Nope,
Are they here tonight?
They stepped back after the,
Okay.
they're involved. There are some
But
that are
they'll
involved.
be-
One is on the board health, one is a planning board.
Are they a
another-
resource for us?
I
Does it
think
turn
that
around
you
and-
will probably get them when you
Have your
do your
meetings.
meetings. They'll probably be coming, I hope.
I would think you could also
Because
contact
that would
them.
be
Yeah, we would
helpful.
probably reach out, because they did a lot of groundwork.
They did a lot
So,
of groundwork.
Yes.
We would reach out to them.
I see them as a resource. I don't,
Me
We
too.
have dissolved that committee, but
they always
feel
still
welcome.
exist.
yes.
At some coffee
People are
shop
still there.
somewhere. So in terms of the category of the boards and then the professionals, the boards, are there additional meetings with boards? Well, let's consider the evening meeting with the boards in general as having been decided, and that's taken care of. Now, additional meetings with the search committee and the personnel board, and then yourselves. Are there any other boards involved that we'd have separate meetings with?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's a really small community. A lot of people are on boards and committees, and
And the personnel committee is also quite new.
Okay.
So that's something to be aware of. They really
Oh, is
just
that why?
reformed a couple months ago.
Because you had
So-
something in there about, it sounded like an educational process relative to the personnel committee, and I was wondering why that was in there, so there's a bit of newness involved.
Though the committee may be new, the people who are on the committee are pretty much townies. They've been here and can probably provide a lot of town history with that. So you've got that dual-edged sword. Just because they're on a committee doesn't mean that they're not involved in the town.
Yeah, see, from our
Got it.
perspective, a lot of that,
Okay.
you don't need me. A lot of that, we can do phone contacts with them and just talk over the phone with
Mhm.
some of their thoughts, and if they're comfortable. And we do that with a lot of different groups who want to talk to us personally on the phone and just give us their insight and how they got from point A to point B. So
Right.
we're always open to that. We're around, so.
Okay.
Yeah, at some point, I know that I want to flip this conversation to give you the thought that I'm actually quite nearby. And I'm going to be off the clock for this project because, we need to come up here, we're going to come up here.
Yeah,
That's not
and
an
I'm up
issue.
in the Lowell area, so it's.
But I
half-hour
need
drive
to,
for me, so.
nail down as much as I can, and this is extreme. I appreciate the time you're spending on this. The last category was the professional thing. Now, we put that in our proposal. It wasn't necessarily in your request, though, but you came at a very high level. You seem to want most everything that we could offer. Now, the professional part of our proposal is that we gather a group of, say, 3 interviewers, an HR person, a school superintendent, or whatever the mix is, and a manager, and we sit down here and we just, the poor candidates just have to go through it with us. And we know what we want to find out about the candidate relative to the profile that we've established for the town with the assistance of you. What do you want? That's what we're measuring the candidates against. Do you think you want that, or do you think you don't want that?
Which step in the process was that?
That's a
That would-
professional panel.
Professional
that-
interviewing panel, usually, say the same day, the search committee, we just switch candidates and keep on going the whole day long.
and then
We're
we
not
match
sure you
notes
need that, and so.
At the end.
Yeah, I think you're going to be in contact with those people through the other 2 meetings, or,
Yeah.
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 but if you have needed contact information, sure, we could share it with you.
I mean, as
I
Steve
don't-
said,
I
we.
don't think they need that.
I don't think so either. We
No.
gave you the full,
Yeah.
I just don't think you, at your level, you're looking for somebody probably new to the business, somebody who's energetic and has a passion and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think we need the professional panel. We'll be able to discern through the resumes who is a quality person, and your search committee
Right.
can make those decisions that
Mhm.
moves on to you folks.
So you now know that that's the point
Okay.
of flexibility. I
Yep.
think we've accomplished a lot of what I wanted to accomplish tonight. Thank you very
Well, that's
much.
good.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you got a good response to a good RFP, and that's what these meetings do for us. Is now I feel that if you say, okay, yeah, we like you, you're great, but we can't budget. We don't have a budget for you guys. Can you move on that number? We can respond now. We know much better what you need. So that's good.
Okay.
I was curious about one thing. What's the status of the act? And I want to know who went in and testified and where you are in that whole process, because that
The
could tell me a
governor
lot.
actually has signed it,
Oh,
Good.
good.
so,
So it's effective.
yep.
Effective on the date of signature?
Mhm.
Good for you.
Bingo, you're done.
Good
And,
work.
and who did testify on it? Who went in?
Representative Naughton helped us significantly get it through. I worked with him.
Home rule
Regularly.
petition, they'll generally approve that.
Did
If the
anyone
community
from the
wants it, they'll
town come
generally
in?
approve it.
We had somebody that I worked with through his office who was telling me at each point, and who, when there was a problem, notified me immediately so that we could work it through and fix it.
Okay, so you had absolutely no resistance along the way. It was just a
No.
home
We
rule
just-
petition
We had some
straight.
technical difficulties and
Okay.
that we had to solve, but other than that, there was no issue with
Are
it.
there any changes on it other than what's online?
The online version is the version that went through.
That's the fun.
Yep.
I asked because
Yeah.
I had to go in on ours.
No.
Because they wanted to know if the incumbent, I was sitting
We
in the
actually,
position that was going to be affected.
Yeah.
And they wanted to know if I had any resistance to it.
We actually
And I
had
didn't,
sent
so they
it,
wanted to
we
hear
had
from me.
sent it through Representative Naughton's lawyers.
Yeah.
They're the state lawyers
Yep.
before we
Yep.
ever put it
Okay.
through. So we had done a lot of work up front to help
And-
it pass smoothly.
And your town meeting was,
Town meeting, they also did a ton of work beforehand. Like I said, this process went over a year
Yeah.
and a half,
Yeah.
and at 3 separate occasions, it was okayed by town meetings.
Okay.
Oh, really?
So town meeting's bought
Oh.
into it at this point. Yeah.
They had no questions, the final
No.
vote.
They were tired
I
of
see you
that.
did a good job in
Well.
laying the
They,
groundwork.
they were
That's good.
very thorough.
That's good.
Either that or they're tired of hearing it from us.
Yeah.
Either way works.
Oh, we've seen it a lot of ways. We've seen them crash and burn at town meeting too. And, you know, if you don't do your homework,
I think they covered things very
Yeah.
well.
Good. They did a good job.
Terrific,
Yeah.
Good.
terrific, good, good.
So
Yeah.
one of the things that's interesting to us is a first-time position like this in a smaller town. And we think about candidates and who the likelihood is. People that we're recruiting for Concord aren't going to apply here. And that's not a slight on you. It's just that at that level, there are strong charters with managers and that type of thing. So we think when we see these type of newly formed positions, you need a broad reach. And what I mean by that is you need to reach beyond what you think is the normal recruitment area, and that may be beyond Massachusetts, because we know a lot of people in the New England states who are either in processes that we're engaged in, or have been in processes that we've been engaged in that we keep on a list. We've got a database of 1,500 plus or minus individuals that have applied for jobs that we've had.
It's a huge point.
It's a
MRIs.
huge. Now they're not all good. We just keep everybody who's
Yeah.
applied, but we do know some good people, and
Yeah.
some of our searches we flag them
Terrific.
and we directly recruit them. Recent example is Steve's former town, Hanover. We recruited the manager out of Shelburne, Vermont, because we knew of him. We placed him in Shelburne, Vermont. Terrific young manager, and you would ask why he'd want to leave Shelburne and come back here. His family's from the South Shore.
His wife.
His wife is from the South Shore. So
And we knew
knew
that.
that, and we knew that that's a good opportunity in a good position for somebody like this to move south. And it was a unanimous choice of the Board of Selectmen down there.
He's a great
They weren't
find.
worried about how's he going to learn how Massachusetts does business vis-a-vis Vermont. Admittedly, it is different, but it's not rocket science. Somebody smart picks that up like that.
And to follow up on that theme, but to take it a detour just to show you a slight difference, we placed someone in Plainville, and she'd come out the DPW world.
Right.
And that's a slightly non-traditional
Right.
pathway.
Right.
Big success. And you know, we'll pull from military background. You just can't tell for sure. But what we do know is we always seem to get to a point where you've got, when it gets to you, we're stepping back. And we're comfortable coming up with people, and we know if you're comfortable, because it just something happens at that point that you're, okay, we know we've got 3 candidates this board's going to be happy with. And then we can step back, and that's when we're happy and we're comfortable, and then you take it from there. But this recruitment side of MRI is just, if there's 2 points I want to make about MRI, it's the ability to recruit people and get people that match what the needs of the town are. It's just unbelievable. It's just a big point. And the other thing, and why I chose to work for MRI, because I got to look at all these firms when I was looking at who I wanted to work for, is the background checks. Because Alan is not only a former town administrator, he's a former police chief. And he understands background checks to the second level. He can dig out anything on anybody, and that's important. You need to know that. But he also understands that, okay, situations arise, but what do you do? And you ask the candidate, what did you do when you had a situation? How did you tell your selectmen? When did you tell your selectmen? How did you interact, and how did you work your way through it? And that interaction with the Board of Selectmen tells you more about anything as to how they're going to succeed or fail in Berlin or the type of town that you're looking at.
The interesting part of our job today, and it's totally different, and I'm sure you all know in whatever you do, the world has changed. We can give you Joe Jones, and anybody can Google it and see who
Oh,
Joe
yeah.
Jones is, what he's done in his life, blah, 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 blah. And it's good for transparency, but it's also a negative in terms of people trying to recruit. because people say things and it gets online and it may not be true, but that individual's name is attached to it. So to Steve's point, we cut through all of that.
Yeah, we don't have to deal with the open
Plus,
meeting
we've
law.
been in the business, so we know that I can video myself, go on and Google myself and see some meetings I had with selectmen that are not pleasant. That doesn't mean it was a problem.
Really?
It means that's part of the public discourse, and you know the way people treat that. You need to be careful about it, I guess, is my comment back, because we can sift through all of that. We know a lot of the people who apply. We know what may have happened in the past. We know why some of these things happened. We don't go public. We talk to the appointing authority and say, here's why
You'll
we
know what we know.
recommend this individual go forward.
The finalist, you will know what we know.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to
And we
know.
will find out.
Yeah.
We will.
Let's maybe see if any of our committee members have questions.
Who do we have?
You have 3 of our committee members, Tricia Kincannon, Janet Lamy, and Scott Hawkins. Do you guys have anything that you'd like to know or questions?
I've been surfing their website.
Have you?
They also recruit fire chiefs.
Oh, we do fire and police,
We
public works.
actually-
We just
we
did
have
the
an
Rutland
RFP from
Public
them,
Works
so.
Director, so.
Yes,
Yeah.
we did. Yeah, I noticed you talking about the treasure collector.
Yeah, I saw that.
That would be a conversation, be interested in continuing another day.
Tough positions. Municipal positions are difficult today. Public safety is a whole nother animal. But municipal positions in general, finance people, public works people, are very difficult to find. But as I said, we just found one for Rutland, small town, and got a good one. But it's not easy. It's not easy.
Yeah.
But you
Well, there's
know
no
that,
succession planning.
Yeah.
There's nobody underneath us for 15 years, and then there's a new crop coming up. But, fire chief, police chief, there's often a lieutenant or a captain underneath ready to come up. It's not that way in our world, so.
Right.
You mentioned as us as a small town and a first-time manager, you might have to look sort of broader for candidates. Where do you look potentially even inside the state or in New England that are sort of crossover skills, where you get someone who's currently sort of not in public service, where this could be their entree into it?
Well, first off, I'm going to do a part 1 and a part 2 with you, because first off, I'm not willing to leave the public service arena.
Okay.
Because there are valuable people who are working in department head levels that are ready to transition out, that are with the title of assistant or without the title of assistant, that have been in multiple departments and are ready to go. I came from a treasure collector background, but before that, I had worked as an assistant to the selectman and a town administrator. So you had to go back one step to find out my career path. I had switched over to the finance side just to get that experience. Just an interesting example. But there are, and I was talking to one at the weekend convention with this town in mind, and I was talking and saying, you really are ready to move up to the next step. Why are, that type of conversation. And in terms of a non-traditional discussion without geographic boundaries, the military was a surprise to me when I came on and started doing this type of recruiting, because a lot of those military people are running small towns with their bases.
Right.
They're running entire towns, the infrastructure, the sewer, all that stuff, and then the personnel and the police structure, all those things. They run them all. And a couple of them have made successful transitions. Now, we found you just have to do the due diligence that we were just talking about. And if you find a match, and the selectmen are comfortable,
And Steve,
then if the community is willing to put the effort into that transition that we were talking about, that would be a transitional thing.
Yeah.
and convince people that
Then that will work.
if you haven't been a town manager before, you ought not be excluded from a process. I'll give you an example. Small town, we did Dayton.
Yeah, that's a
And
good
one of the
example.
finalists down there, she ultimately didn't get it, but one of the finalists that we and the screening committee, the town screening committee, moved towards the finals for the Board of Selectmen to interview, was fairly high up in the UMass system, education system, in administration. And she was telling us, and Dayton's a small town, she was telling us she's responsible for 150 employees, a $25 million budget. And I'm sitting there going, well, that sounds like you can manage an operation. You know, you may not be a public works expert, but towns generally have a public works person, a highway person, or a sewer or water. They already have that in place. What they need is somebody to manage all of it. And she ultimately landed the town administrator job. It's down in the South Shore. But we didn't want to close the door because it didn't fit the profile of who should be your next manager or administrator. It came from education. But it worked. She's doing great where she is right now. So, to Steve's point, we keep an open mind to non-traditional applicants that come in. So, and I think you need to today. I just do. I've often said, and I was in the business for almost 40 years, the job is difficult, rewarding, challenging, but it's not rocket science. People with intelligence can do the job. If they have those other attributes that you may look for, one of which is a people person, somebody who doesn't lock themselves in an office somewhere and not communicate, gets everything done technically, but is really not a right fit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying.
Your act really calls for
I've
someone
done a
who's
lot of,
cooperative.
I've been on a lot of screening committees for for school
Oh,
superintendents.
same, yeah.
And
Yep.
one of the things that we did hear was that people were looking for a person with experience. And one of the reasons that is, I think, is because previously we did have a town administrator
Yeah.
without the special act, and
Yep.
it didn't work.
Right.
So
Yep.
I think people are going to be very careful about, you know, what they're looking for and what will work for Berlin.
Yeah.
So just a little background.
Well, we need to know that, yeah. And are these people also?
I think we
You good?
need to.
The website didn't generate some.
It answered a few
I'm-
questions.
yeah.
Fine.
Unfortunately, I think we have another appointment at 8.
Yes,
so
you do.
Sure.
We're going to have to wrap it up, but
Well, you've been generous
Is there
with your
anything
time, I
else that,
appreciate that.
you'd
That
like
are on
to
the
share with
stickies.
us? Yeah. You can leave the stickies and I'll get back to you.
No, I think speaking for Steve and Alan, we'd be excited by Berlin. I know the area pretty well, as you heard. I worked in this general area I know a lot of the surrounding managers and all that kind of stuff, so
Okay.
I have a pretty good feel for this area, and we'd love to help you out. Please keep in mind that, you know, you saw the comprehensive proposal, what we've heard here tonight. I'm sure Steve and I will get back to Alan and say,
Yeah, I'll talk to Alan
you got to be
tomorrow.
flexible, Al, and I'm sure he would after hearing back from us. And if you decide, you can just call him and decide what you want to do.
All right.
thank you.
Thank you
And
for
thank
having
you
us
for the
in.
opportunity.
Appreciate it.
No
And
problem.
Our pleasure.
Your secret's out.
My secret's been out for a long time.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank
Thank you, Bob.
you.
You bet.
Pleasure. Good for you guys. Volunteer.
Yeah.
I think you volunteered, or were you just appointed?
It's a bitter fought battle.
Yeah, we had to scratch and claw.
I'll bet you did.
Voluntold.
Yeah, voluntold.
That's right, you were
yeah.
voluntold.
Yeah.
You had to fill out an application.
I know, isn't it
It's only
awful?
one page.
That's what that's your resume.
Unless-
Good for you. You'll find it an exciting process.
Yeah, thank you.
You really will.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Take care. Thank you.
See you next week.
It's a community paradigm.
Did you read it?
Community paradigm.
So I thought the like 5-page or 6-page things that were attached to one of the emails was the proposals.
Was what?
I have a like 800-page thing.
Do you want this to go through it?
Yeah.
I did, yeah.
It's a lost skill.
She's committed it to memory. There'll be a quiz at 8:20 on page 7.
Two
Right.
brain, my
That's
brain
right.
cells.
Page 7, paragraph 3.
Right, the third paragraph has odd sentence in it.
Let me check it out for you, Scott. Third sentence, right?
I have no
Just
idea.
kidding.
Is our other candidate in the hall, Mary?
They're catching up with one another. They're all
Oh,
small.
I'm sure they
all right.
you know, meet a lot.
Will you guys get a chance
Here they
to
come.
ask written things of them after this meeting before you decide?
I don't see why
It's a small
not.
universe to say, you know, what makes you stand out over the other person is one of my favorite questions when I'm narrowing down vendors.
Come have a seat.
And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
All set?
All
Hi
set.
there.
Great. Hello, everyone. Hi, how are you? Bernie
Hi.
Lynch.
Hi,
See you.
Chris Keith.
Hi, Chris. How nice to see you.
Peg.
Hi, Peg.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Petron.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, John.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you. First, thank you for having us here, and thank you for. I think when we were contacted to schedule, I asked if it could be pushed up close to 8 o'clock because I just was coming out from Boston where I was teaching a class, and I ran into all sorts of traffic on the Mass Pike on the way out, and I was sweating, but it got here plenty of time. So, and stayed within the speed limit the whole
To give
way.
you a later time than have you like be panicking and be late or crash
Yeah.
your car because, yeah.
Exactly. So, but again, thank you for accommodating that and having us here.
Yeah.
Where would you like us to start?
Wherever you'd like to start, I guess.
Okay.
Why do we want to hire you?
You want to make the right. You want to make the right
Your
decision.
friends who just walked out.
You want to make the right
Yes.
decision. Well, as I introduced myself before, my name is Bernie Lynch, and John Petron is here with me tonight. Just let me tell you a little bit about Community Paradigm. It started roughly 5 years ago. My background, and John's background, as well as a number of other people that are involved with the firm, is in municipal government. Myself, I've been working with or for municipalities for over 35 years. I was the town manager of Chelmsford for 20 years, and I was the city manager for the city of Lowell for almost 8 years, which may not sound like a long time, but believe me, in Lowell, that's a very long time. So it was about 5 years ago that I made the decision to do something a little bit different. I was interested in remaining involved in municipal government, but decided that I wanted to do some things differently, and decided to leave the city of Lowell and start Community Paradigm, with the idea being that I'd provide services to municipalities, work with different nonprofits, perhaps some business entities that were dealing with municipal government. But what I found was that there was a real need out there for communities in the area of public management assistance and recruiting. That we were starting to see the wave of retirements happening around the country, really, in the municipal management world, but particularly here in Massachusetts. An interesting number that I'm still blown away by myself. I gave a presentation up at the Selectmen's Association over at Devon's just a few months ago on the market for managers, and I decided to finally try to quantify the change that I saw happening or that all of us have seen happening. And over the last 3 years, over 100 municipalities here in Massachusetts have changed their administrators or their managers, out of some 250, 260, depending upon how you count it, that have managers. So it's been a tremendous turnover. It really is a tough market right now for municipalities to find managers, because there just aren't that many people that have decided to go into the profession, but there's a number of people that are leaving. My first venture into the recruiting side of it was in my time in the town of Winchendon, right up the street. The Department of Revenue asked me to go in because they were without a manager. They had a brand new Board of Selectmen. All 5 were brand new, and the town was $3 million in the red at the end of the fiscal year. They needed some help, and so I went in and worked with them. And as part of that, I worked with them in terms of doing a recruitment for a new manager for them under a separate contract. And that was the beginning of a process of going out and working with municipalities. We've now done about 30 some odd municipal manager searches, mostly here in Massachusetts, one in New Hampshire, and we're currently working on one in Rhode Island, but it's primarily Massachusetts. Our process is probably very similar to any other firm that you may have received a proposal from. We begin, but let me tell you a little bit about how we might do things a little bit differently. We come in, we work with the community in terms of identifying specifically what the skill set that you're looking for from the administrator. I know that this is a brand new position here in the town of Berlin. By the way, your government study committee is to be commended. They did an outstanding job. I've read their report, and I was very impressed with the work that they did. But we would work with you as members of the board, sitting down individually and to determine what you're looking for from the administrator. We'd work with any department heads that you want us to sit down and identify with them their needs, and specifically the issues that are facing the town, the challenges and the opportunities. Out of that, we develop a position profile. I sent you, I think, 5 different profiles that we've prepared for different communities, small and large. And you know, we believe that that's that's one of the things that sort of really separates us. That profile is extremely robust. It has a tremendous amount of information about the town, a tremendous amount of information about the form of government, in this case the new form of government, and the attributes that you're looking for, and the challenges and opportunities. We find that the candidates that we work with find that to be particularly useful for them to understand the community and decide whether they're going to apply and whether it would be a good fit. And we think it's a very important process for the town to go through. In this case, you've made the decision you're going to have a town administrator. So you've really, in many respects, have already gone through this in determining what you want. But it's always a good idea to go through that repeatedly. 3, 5, 10 years from now, when this administrator leaves, you're going to want to go through that again and determine what exactly do we want, what exactly do we need. With that profile in hand, we then go out and market the position. I think, again, we have an outstanding network built up over the roughly 5 years that we've been doing this, but also built up around the network that we as municipal administrators, municipal managers have. All told, we have, John's been in the business for 40 years, 35 years, thereabouts. We know every manager and every administrator in the state. We know the assistants. We know the up-and-coming people who are interested in becoming administrators, because they've been involved with the boot camp, municipal boot camp that the Managers Association runs, that John established for the Managers Association here in Massachusetts. I'm very involved with the Suffolk University Local Government Certificate Program. I've been a coordinator of the program. I teach in the program. I have for the last 5 years. That program was developed around the notion of bringing new people into the business. And it's interesting, as I recruit now for all of those communities, how many people apply and how many people are placed that have gone through that local government certificate program. They've learned about how to be a manager and how to be whether they decide to remain as a department head or whether they want to move up to be an assistant manager or a manager. And then, again, over this period of time, really reached out and met a number of new people, either through the academic programs of the universities we're involved with, through the managers we know, through the people that now contact us on a regular basis with an interest in getting into the business. So we have an extensive database that we can draw upon to fill these positions. We then work with your screening committee. I'm assuming that there will be a screening committee that you have here.
There is.
We will.
There are
They're
several
probably
in the audience.
sitting behind us. When we go out, we market the position, we advertise the position, we collect all of the resumes, and then we sit down and work with the screening committee to review those resumes. We don't hide anything. We show them every resume we receive with our recommendations of who's qualified, who's not qualified, and who fits into that middle category of being interesting. Maybe they haven't been a manager, but maybe they've worked for a state agency, or maybe they've worked for a regional planning agency. Maybe they've been a department head in another community. And they may have some skills and some experiences that would be particularly useful here in Berlin. We then work on setting up the necessary interviews. We develop questions with the screening committee in terms of how best to evaluate the candidates. And then we sort of guide them and work with them through the process to select the finalists. The semifinalists will be interviewed, the finalists that will be sent on to the board, and then we work hand in hand with the board on a similar process. And then once you make your selection, we're a resource to work with you on the negotiation of a contract. So really, from start all the way to finish. We have experience working with, as I said, larger communities in the 30, 40,000 population. And we have experience working with smaller communities. We've worked with one of your neighboring, well, general area communities of Rutland very recently. We've worked with Boxborough. We've worked with the little town of Plimpton down in the south, and Little Beckett out in the west. We just were retained by the town of Buckland. So we know small towns, we know large towns. We know the role of being a manager, being an administrator. We know what select boards want in terms of skills. But again, you're going to help guide us with that as well. John has particular experience in this region. He lives
I live right in Bolton.
Right in Bolton.
So just over the border.
Yeah. He knows, certainly been involved through the years as an administrator. I recently chaired the Bolton Fire Chief Screening Committee. And he actually knows Berlin.
You gotta say it right.
That's right, you gotta say it right.
Well,
Berlin.
Sorry about
I understood that part. So I've been in the area for a long time. I live in Bolton. I was in Marlboro, City Marlboro, for 20 years prior to that. So I understand Macy's, where Macy's is. I understand where BJ's is. I understand the borders here. And I actually did a little work with the town 20 years ago, your personnel bylaws. So when I was town administrator in Harvard, the state asked me to come in and work with the town when you passed your bylaws. So I took a look at them. You still use them,
Probably.
So with that and the personnel system, so I worked with the Selectmen at the time, 20 years ago, to do that. But again, I live in Bolton. I'm familiar with the area. I've been 25 years on the Boys and Girls Club, the Metro West Boys and Girls Club Board of Directors, Hudson, Marlboro, Framingham. So I'm in town every weekend, passing through. So I'm very familiar with the area. I think the other thing is I was the first town administrator for the town of Harvard back in 1988. So a similar, smaller, community. So I came in and had to be the first in that community. So I think I can bring some perspective of having to be a first in a small town. I was there 13 years, as town administrator. So working with a new person coming in, understanding the difference. I had no desk, I had no office, when I went into Harvard. And I had to come in with very long-term people and make that work. And obviously, 13 years, I spent some time there. So I've been in the business 40 years. I'm retiring next month, so I'm the newest member to Bernie's firm. Although I've known Bernie for a very long time. Yeah, a very long time. I was on the board when you came in with North Middlesex at the time.
Right.
So we've worked together on a lot of things. So I'm still in the business today for a couple more weeks. I've been very active in a managers association. I'm a former president of the managers association and a former president of the MMA. And as Bernie stated, still very active with boot camp that I helped set up with Jeff Nutting out of Franklin. So we work with the new managers that come in. So even whoever you hire, I will probably get to know if I don't know, because we work with managers, we work with making sure people can have the tools to succeed moving forward. So those are the people. Bernie's very active, as he said, with Suffolk. I'm very active in other areas. So we're seeing the young people coming up. We're talking to them on a regular basis, and we're contacts, for those people coming in.
So that's our story of who we are, what we would do if we were hired by the town, and happy to take any questions that you might have.
Questions from the board?
Can you touch on community outreach?
Sure.
You didn't cover that in your
presentation.
In your presentation.
Yeah, the internal within the town. Yeah, actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because it is something that I think I listed right here in the community paradigm difference that I'll hand off to you at the end. It is something that we do pretty much in every community that we work with, and I would venture to say that we were one of the first groups to really put a focus on that. Basically, what we do, and we do it several different ways, and I think it's important to note that we will, what I've described to as our process is really sort of the shell that we would do, but we would customize to meet your needs. But community engagement, the community participation is something we feel is very important. In every community, we offer to do a community forum. Not every community chooses to do it, but most do. It's right at the outset, as we're preparing that profile, that we have generally the way it has worked is I would come in and facilitate, moderate a forum, which we would be there to take input from the citizens as to what they're looking for in terms of, again, the skills, the qualities, and what are the key issues that we want that person to be able to work on. In some communities, for instance, economic development is the most important thing going. Other communities don't want any more development. They're very happy with where they are. Their concern is open space, or their concern is dealing with finances, financial issues, or maybe they need to. They want someone that's going to come in and really be a change agent within the organization, while others want someone that's just going to keep the ship heading in the same direction. But we facilitate those discussions, and in fact, I'm happy to give you links to YouTube videos of ones that we've done in other communities, because those are out and about. But we think the citizens play a key role, and we always encourage communities to do it. Most do, but some don't. We also can facilitate citizen participation through a separate email address that we use for citizen input, that people can send us their information if they're not able to make it to a forum. We, in some communities, have citizen participation at the tail end of the process. Most communities choose not to do that, but some have had, specifically the town of Wellesley, the town of Amherst. Again, we facilitated an opportunity to meet candidates and ask questions. Other communities choose not to do that. They choose to do just a meet and greet, to have people come in and actually see the candidates up close. This Saturday morning, I'll be in Brewster, working with the town of Brewster on a meet and greet of the two candidates that they have, and we do that as well. So we try to really involve the citizens. So that's something that has been really a key part of my career, and I feel it's important for communities to do that.
Okay, any other questions from the board?
This is our first town administrator.
Mm-hmm.
What type of person do you see as potential? What qualities do you think to be a first in a small town?
Well, I think is probably going to, I would say it may vary a little bit, again, depending upon what your interests are. But I'll go out on a limb and say that you're looking for someone to come in that, one, the size of your community, this is my sense, the size of your community and the estimated salary you have would probably, we're probably going to be looking at perhaps an assistant who's been in a larger community that's looking for their first opportunity to be an administrator, perhaps a department head from another community, perhaps one of those students they've gone through the Suffolk program. This will be their first time. I don't think it's very likely that you might get a town administrator from another small town that, particularly out in the western part of the state, that may be interested in heading east. So that's a possibility. I think that and I guess this is really more what you'll need to tell us, but what my thought is that you're probably looking for someone that can come in, build upon the work that others have done here in the past, and take it to the next level, if you will, by putting in place the systems, providing the assistance to the board, coordinating the work of the department heads and the staff to move the ball forward. I don't think, one of the questions that, and there's a sort of a standard response to it that people would use, but really is a key question. What would you do in your first 60 days? And I think in most municipal organizations, you want someone that's going to come in and listen and understand what the needs of the community are. I think you will be, my sense is you would probably be ill-served if you have someone that's going to come in and blow the whole thing up and try to change the town. It's building upon what you have and making it better. So you want someone with the personality that is collaborative, a consensus builder, and wants to respect the traditions of the town and move it forward.
I think a lot of it is going to be understanding the three of you, what you need. I've been there, having to come into it first time and having one of those selectmen say, I don't believe we need this position, up front. So what is, so how do we work that? And he paid me a great compliment many years later. He moved, to another state, and he basically said, when I went to that town, they didn't have one. I told them they need one, And so what are you looking for? Because you're going to change, your role is going to change a little bit. So because you're going to have a person, taking on the responsibility that maybe some of you are taking on day to day. So how are you going to, work with that? So I can see that because I've been there and working with the person coming in, and part of it's going to be working with you three as well, to understand that transition. It's a two-way transition. So it's not just about the person coming in, it's about you letting the person come in as well. And as Bernie said, the person can't come in here all gangbusters. It's got to be a process, and you've got long-time people here, and I understand, the way things have operated here, and they need to understand that as well. Take that time to learn from. You're changing over fire chief, but you've got a police chief who've been here, 5 or 6 years. Department heads who've been here a while. The elected officials, who work in this building. They're going to have to understand all that and take their time coming in.
Yeah, getting time to get to know Berlin.
Both. It's a two-way process, and that person has to have that flexibility to be able to do that, but also talk to you three and get that understanding directly from the board as to how this is going to transition.
Okay. Any questions you have for us? Besides those big ones that we'll have to tackle at a later date, perhaps. But
yeah, I don't think we have. I mean, I don't have any questions, but I think that I think we can serve you well. Let me just sort of a summary, and I don't know if there are other people. The search committee or screening committee has questions.
Yes,
there's a few
Okay.
behind you.
Okay.
And if you'd like, if there's any questions from the audience, also. Want to introduce yourself?
Janet.
Hi, Janet.
Hi. Hi. Nice to meet you. So, John, I have a quick question for
Yes.
you. You said you're not, you have been doing this, or you're currently in a...
No, I'm the town administrator for the town of Burlington. I'm retiring
right now. Okay.
So I still do searches for my own. I just hired, my replacement and his replacement, so we promoted in-house, but just had to, do a major recruit to, bring in a town accountant / assistant town administrator.
Okay.
So I've been in, this process.
And you're retiring from that?
I'm retiring in a couple of weeks.
Okay, all right.
So with that, I came here as second seat to observe the master at this.
Well, we couldn't find you in the paperwork,
Right.
so that's what we were wondering. And I like the fact that you know that you live in Bolton and are familiar with, Macy's and
Yeah, as you probably saw in our profile, our firm profile. We've obviously John is now going to be working with us. We have a couple of other people that are going to be adding, but we have Rocco Longo, the town administrator. He's been the town administrator in Marshfield, the town manager in Billerica.
So who would be working with Berlin then?
Me.
Okay.
And John would be working with me
Okay.
during this. And then the other one that would be working on this would be Sharon Flaherty.
Okay.
And Sharon is really she knows municipal government from a journalist side. She would be doing all of the communications that goes with this, the preparation of the profile, the interviewing of the department heads, to really, and working with me on the interview with the other town officials, and then she's the one who's responsible for building up that profile.
Okay.
So, but you would get me.
Okay, thank you.
So, and in large part, the growth of the firm, the growth of the staffing is really a result of just the work that we're doing. I think we're currently, I'd have to go through and figure out exactly where everyone is in the process, but I think we're currently working on 10 or 11 different recruitments around the state. So,
Currently? Right now?
Right.
Okay.
Sturbridge should wrap up next week. Brewster should wrap up next week. Adams will be a week or so after that. So we're getting through that. But since we submitted the proposal, Buckland has asked us to help them. The town of Rockland has asked us to help them. I can't recall whether Lakeville and Marion, two other communities, which we think is helpful to be so involved. One, it's very gratifying to know that communities are opting to utilize us. It speaks to, we certainly urge the board or the screening committee or others to contact our references. We're confident that they will all be very pleased with the work that we've done. It's helpful to be involved with so many different recruitments, so because we get an opportunity to find new candidates to that we're able to place in communities. We know the market and we know the people that are out there.
And do you keep track of people that you have worked with in the past? Do you have like a database of previous candidates that you will go back to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we have candidates that have applied but not been selected. We certainly have candidates that have been selected. I'm a little leery about many of those have just been in the last 4 years, so I'm a little leery about poaching too quickly.
Well, that's one more question I have. Do you poach people that you have placed?
Never have.
Okay. I was going to say that must be something that you can't do
No, I can't.
ethically.
No.
Okay.
No. After we put them there, they're there. So I'm not going to be out there.
Okay.
I'm not going to be out there 3 years ago saying, "Boy, I remember the one we put in Berlin," and say
that would be a good fit for such and such a community.
So one of the things we do, and I do in my current position, is call others. One of the things that I learned a long time ago from a recruiter is I used to get a phone call every 6 months from this recruiter saying, "Hey, I got this going. Who in your area is ready?"
Right.
So right now, I'm still involved in the Managers Association. I just came from the meeting, over the weekend, and so I know, the folks out there. And a part of what we do is say, "Hey, we got this position. Who do you think is ready in your area?" So we know those people to call. So being very active, at this level, brings it. And that's how we recruited. I just talked about hiring an assistant, for my position, coming in. That's how we did it. Call around and we find it because it is a very difficult market, and so you got to work at it.
Right.
This isn't about putting an ad in a paper anymore.
Right.
I talk about recruitment. I know in
Right.
where I'm at, recruitment is much different,
Right.
from advertising.
Right. If this were simply as simple as just placing an ad, you wouldn't need us here.
Right.
It really is being able to go out and find people, be a resource for those people. There are going to be candidates that are going to have questions about the town and about the position. And the fact that we've done the job, we can speak to those questions. Those people probably wouldn't ask you or ask the board those questions.
Right.
They would either apply and hope it's a good fit, or would avoid applying because of fear that it wouldn't be a good fit. We can be a resource for them as well as for the town to answer those questions. But it is going out and knocking on doors. And again, the database that we've built up based upon people that have applied for positions that haven't been the right fit for particular communities, or have contacted, particularly people that have contacted us for with an interest in getting into the business. So, for instance, the town of Rutland. We just were able to place the executive assistant to the mayor of Gardner. He was on nobody's radar screen, but we know the mayor well, and we knew that he was out looking, and the mayor was advocating that this is someone that would be good in the municipal management world. We were able to help place that. The town of Beckett is another one that we were able to identify a candidate. Beckett is a remote location, the western part of the state, but we were able to, because of people that have reached out to us because of an interest in getting into the business, we were able to place someone who was a school teacher, but also a local government official that had decided that he was fascinated by the business and wanted to change careers, and he became a perfect fit for that particular town, which had they'd had a couple of failed searches before they brought us on, and we were able to help find them the right candidate.
You're kind of unique right now because you're one of the few towns in recent years that's hiring for the first time. Right. You know, that hasn't happened, you know, that often. In many
there's
towns,
not too many of us left.
there's not too many,
Right.
and that's the point. So, you know, I think hiring for this position is a great opportunity, you know, in many ways, and getting it right the first time is so important.
It is.
And as I said, I've been there, you know, with the town of Harvard, where I was the first 30 years ago, and so there's only been 3 people in a position, you know, over those 30 years, and you know, it's been a success there. So you need to make sure you get out, you know, of the gate, you know, the right way,
Right.
you know, up front.
Have to have
And-
a good fit for both.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and having been there, and having, you know, Harvard was only 5,000 people, so small town, understand, you know, that aspect of why it needs to be, you know, a good fit coming in. So I've been in the small town, and I was the assistant superintendent of schools for the city of Marlboro, you know, at one point. So, you know, I've been, you know, city and small town aspects, so.
Well, like I said in the last interview, is that we did have a town administrator at one point, and
Yes.
it did not work out. So now we're trying to do it the right way with
Yep.
the special act, and we're hoping to get the best
Right, I was an
fit
administrative
possible.
assistant at the time, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to have to. We're going to have to work hard to.
What's the position of Brewster? Is that the financial director?
No, with Brewster, it's the town administrator position. There is going to be a finance director position open as well. But the first they want to get the town administrator in place. So.
It's a small universe thing. I happen to know the IT person over there.
Oh, okay. All right. We have to get her name.
That's it.
Okay. Yeah. So
We went to summer camp together when we were younger.
a couple years ago.
Yeah.
5 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And you know, that was something we did with. You know. Again, I couldn't remember her name, but we included the department heads in the discussions about the positions, and then recently we had both of the candidates that are the finalists come and meet with the department heads. Again, to try to make sure that it's the right fit for everybody.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
Well, I'll just leave you with this. If there's no other questions,
Okay.
this is how I'll close. Let me. Oops, I'm going to say one. It sort of reiterates. Sorry, Mary, I tossed them back. So,
Oh, Mary, I'll give you mine if you need it.
Sure.
you know, it sort of reiterates, I think, some of the points we've tried to make tonight as to why we think we would be a good pick for the town. Extensive municipal experience. I think we both described the experiences we've had within municipal government. Thank you. And you know, we can bring that to assist you in the process. the network that we have based upon the work we've done through our careers as well as our current recruiting efforts. The position description, the position profile, that is the most robust document that you will find as far as a recruiting document. And quite a bit of work goes into that. It isn't just pulling information off the web. It involves participation by the town officials. Community engagement, again, a key part of what we do is involving the citizens. But again, that's really dependent upon what you want as a board. Advising beyond recruitment. We're municipal junkies. We get in here and sometimes we can't help ourselves in terms of giving you some ideas. If we see things that we think would help you hire the best candidate based upon information that we know about how a town operates, but also if we see something that you might want to look at to help you make the process work more effectively. In one community that I'm working with right now, the issue is more than just hiring a new town administrator. It's reforming and revising the form of government. They recognize that, and I was able to work with them to give them ideas as to how that should go forward. Likewise, that particular community has a vacancy right now, and we'll soon have a greater vacancy with some changes that are happening with some of the staff. We can go beyond that and help. It's not a service we provide in terms of a fee-based service, but if you needed, for instance, in this particular case, an interim town administrator, we have people that we know are looking for that type of work that would be happy to refer you to, or them to you. If you needed something like that. Likewise, if you have other positions coming up, obviously we like to recruit for planners, we'd like to recruit for finance people, we like to be able to help in that way, but on a fee basis. But if it's just giving you some advice, happy to do that. That's, again, we're municipal junkies. We do customize to meet your expectations, to meet your needs, and again, I think our references would speak to that. We don't come in with a cookie-cutter approach. You're your own unique municipality. You have your own needs. We sell the town, we sell the position. This one, it's going to be the fact that, there's going to be some challenges. It's the first time it's open. There are going to be people who are going to be reluctant because of that. There are going to be other issues that may come up that would lessen the pool. It's our job to allay any fears that people have, allay any concerns, and make sure that we're selling. We've had communities that we've filled positions soon after the passing of a town administrator, when it's a very rocky situation. We've been able to go in, we've been able to really sell the opportunity that's there. There have been positions that there's been a change in the form of government, or one on the horizon that's scaring people away. We can go in and we can explain to candidates what's going on, the real story behind what's happening. And then lastly, just the recent experience with the market. There's not another group out there that has done as many recruitments over the last 3 years for town administrators here in Massachusetts. As I said, it's about 30 now. That's roughly a third of all the positions that have opened up, and some communities have opted to not utilize a consulting firm. So all in all, we've been very busy. We know the market, we know the people, and we know the business.
I would add one more.
Sure.
Enthusiasm. This would be my first, coming in, learning from my senior here, as to this process and having been through it as a town administrator. But I would be very enthusiastic, through this process, because your first one you always want. To have something special. You remember that one. So this will be something exciting for me, switching over from the municipal side to the consulting side.
Right. And plus he knows Macy's and
yes.
So I don't know how you can. I don't know how you can beat that. But that's what we've got. So thank you again for having us.
And the flat penny and a few other things. Since I live right by there.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much. Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Bernie.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care.
Very good seeing you.
Bernie.
Okay.
Nice to
Thank
see
you.
Barry, take care now.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Folks.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
Oops. Uh-oh.
Making a mess?
Here's papers.
Good job. So Scott, what was your question now that all have left the room?
No, when I do my vendor searches and down the last couple, I tend to let them know, again, who the other side is, and then just ask them, you know, why you're the right vendor. The reason I ask that is I care a lot about tone, and so if their response is, you know, the other vendor is trashy or poor or something like that, I know they just have a bitterness streak. I don't like them. You can say those same things without saying in a positive. We do better at A, B, and C.
Right.
And so I use that to sometimes just gauge the tone. But it's also, if you ask both of them, they might agree on what they're stronger at than the other. And then I can, from that value statement, go, okay, these 3 values are more important to me than these 3 other values, and therefore I'm going to go with this vendor over here.
That's good.
Did you guys have any thoughts you want to share based on the interviews?
No, but I'm likely to text Kathleen tonight.
You think what?
My friend who's the...
His inside source.
My inside source in the town of Brewster.
There you
Like,
go.
you know, what did she think of the process, you know, and how were they to communicate with? And I mean, she wouldn't have been a leader in the process, she's just a department head, but...
Well, you could copy us on that email to her.
See, and that's just it. Those are the people that you want to talk to, not the list of
Right.
references, because I'm going to give you every person that will say
Yeah, I know.
how awesome I am.
Right.
You want to find that one person that's like, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah.
No, 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 you know.
I also could do a little inside digging on the last ones, I think. Because I think they found the town administrator for Weston. Are they the ones?
It would be on the list, probably.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, so I might.
If you
be-
wanted to share that information, either one of you,
I might be able to ask
you could
around.
share it with us.
I might just be able to ask a few people I know, that's all. But can I just tell you, I really liked the second guys. I thought they were, I like them both. I like them all. But I felt like the second group brought a different energy, and they were more dynamic and more, you know, we really want to do this. I think the first, I really liked the experience of the first ones, but I just felt like they added that extra punch, the second group, so that's my comment.
Interesting.
I like the second one better. The recruited from the person we hired in Stowe to somewhere else was, made me nervous. They get a really good person that were their first town administrator, and how quickly before that first company, if we hired them, would hire them away to another town.
Say that again, what?
The first vendors
Yeah.
that came in one of the recent placements, they took someone from Stowe who they placed only a few years ago
They
and
did?
brought them to Massachusetts. He talked
I
about, he brought them to the
missed
South
that.
Shore because he knew the person.
Oh, Vermont.
Oh, from Vermont.
Vermont, yes,
Yeah.
from Vermont down.
Yes.
And
Yeah, I
thinking
missed
that,
that.
again,
Yeah.
if they had hired someone here who was really good, this is the first one, if they turn out to be a stellar hire,
Yeah.
how quickly before they start, like, oh,
Poaching.
our next.
It could have been that person was contacting them to say,
I know.
yeah. It
But-
might not have been that they said, hey, you.
We didn't ask them for that example, though, so.
No.
And it was nice that the second guys were very clear about the
Yeah.
coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my thought was that perhaps we take some time to think about it
Mhm.
and put it on the agenda for next week.
Mm-hmm.
So decision next week?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think we could do that unless there's something that comes up the next week that holds us up for some reason.
And obviously, if you guys think of walk away and think of questions, send them, and we'll whiz them out and get information back.
All right?
Yeah, I think if you can ask Scott,
Yeah.
if we can get, that's a really great question.
Yeah.
Any comments from you, Mrs. Lamy? No?
I talk, I don't cough.
Okay, don't talk, don't cough.
The
Write
other
it down.
piece of this I find interesting too is that we have 2 people in the room who have potential contacts of people that they've worked with, and nobody for MRI.
Right.
That's sort of something else.
Well, let's hold our
I'm just
judgment.
saying, that's-
Let's
yeah,
just
that's
hold our
also
judgment, because not everyone's
negative.
shared their opinions here at the board either.
I actually have I can, because I worked for the town of Weston briefly, and I think, anyway.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
Well,
Probably ought to get moving
sometimes
here.
your first impressions an hour after the interview aren't your same
Exactly.
impressions even a day later.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
It was like thinking about it for a day before it
Yeah.
settles in.
Yeah.
Same
I
here.
wasn't saying making a decision, I just thought it was interesting, like I said, that you had two that have experience with the one.
All right, where are we here?
Thank you, that's awesome. Thanks for being here, appreciate it.
So we're up to appointments.
No, we didn't.
No?
Skip 2.
What?
Did we skip number 2?
No, we did
Oh.
that. We voted to approve, right?
Number 2? The Earthworks Board?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh,
There's a
must have
letter-
missed that one.
There's a letter to be signed to that effect. I'm not sure if it got signed,
Probably not. Was there a sticky?
but there was.
There it is. Look at that.
Mary and her stickies.
Yep.
Just trying to give you a landing zone.
I still miss some of them, even though there were stickies.
I know. I'll make them bigger.
Okay. All right, so appointments, Fire and EMS Chief Screening Committee. I believe we have 11 candidates. And first thing I want to talk to you about is, though, what's a number that you think is a good size? Because that's a lot
I
of
would say
people.
7.
7 at most. I'd say 5 to 7.
Agreed. Mm-hmm.
All right. Do we want to do this in such a way where, I don't know, everybody picks their 2 top ones, see if they're the same, or move
We could
and then
do
move
that,
on?
or if there are folks that we all agree on right off the bat, we could start with that.
Okay.
Like, I'm guessing that maybe Joe Flanagan is somebody we all agree on?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes?
Okay.
Same with Mr. Pendergast.
Agreed.
Okay, I'm agreeing with that too.
See, and I'm leaning towards Sharon, and the reason is that she's down there every day. She's got to work with this person every day. She knows the pulse of that fire department probably better than anyone. And I'm not seeing other folks from fire that offered to step up and do this, so I would definitely lean towards her. I think she has a
Agreed.
good pulse on the
Well,
town.
She's gonna
George
want
is-
to take care of her team.
George
Yep.
is, or was, on the fire department too, but,
I think a
okay.
lot's changed since he left, though.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
think one internal is good.
Mm-hmm.
So Sharon is a third.
I like, it was recommended to me that we go with as many sort of neutral fire folks as we could.
By who?
I like,
Just curious.
it was actually Greg Halfpenny.
Mm.
See, and here's my issue with that. 2 weeks ago, we sat here and said no to a committee, a search committee, because of their lack of detail, attention to detail. He falls into the same.
Hmm?
This thing has been out for 2 weeks.
Who, oh, Greg?
Greg.
Can I speak to Greg?
You
Yeah.
can,
Quickly?
but then I'll continue. Go
Okay.
ahead.
I understand that it's been out there. He was reluctant to apply. He kind of tries to stay out of town politics. However, this is the person where everybody says, has Greg Halfpenny applied? And the reason it wasn't in today was he busted a pipe. He actually finally decided last night his intention was to get it in this morning, and they had an issue at the barn with a pipe. So I think he is a strong enough candidate who will make a large section of the community, regardless of any sort of politics, happy. And he's also very neutral with a strong fire background. He would be one of my top choices.
And I don't think it's fair to all the other candidates who got their applications in on time and who were out of town and got them in on time. I mean, that's just it. And I understand that. I understand that they were mitigating circumstances, but if he had thought about it last night, then to me, he should have emailed one of us and said, hey, I'm going to apply. I'm working on my application. I'll get it in. Can you please hold my spot? And he didn't.
He did text me last night.
But we didn't know. So.
I feel like he probably had some kind of reluctance, whether it was the not wanting to get involved in the town politics, or maybe there was another reason. And if it took him that long, then I'm thinking the deadline was the deadline, and we did extend the deadline too.
I mean, it was 3 hours.
It's principle.
I think you're taking one of the best candidates we have and taking them out of contention based on 3 hours.
But if you make an exception for him, then somebody else is going to walk through that door at 5 and 10 and say,
well,
what about me?
You know, we've already, I mean, we're sitting here now. This was in before we sat down to deliberate on this.
I know, but I think deadlines are deadlines.
Yeah.
It's your call, but like I said, I think he's one of the best candidates you have here.
That may be true. You might be absolutely right. I wish he'd put it in earlier.
Isn't that our goal, to put together the best committee we can?
It is.
I think we have a lot of good people here.
It is, but it's also our goal to make sure that people adhere to the direction that we've given. And the direction was very clear about today at noon. It was on the Berlin website. It was on Facebook. This guy's in town. It's not like he was living 15 towns away and just heard of it. So I'm sorry, but he may be a great person, and he may have waffled and decided last night, but he had an obligation to reach out to the board, and he didn't. So I'm sorry. I'm not going to consider him.
I think we have some good candidates here, so let's continue.
Let's move on.
Oops. I don't know Lisa. I don't know that she had any kind of fire
she doesn't.
department experience.
The reason that that Lisa is on here is you have a lot of really strong personalities on this list, and Lisa is the calm in the storm. She is the person who builds consensus. She is the person who is unflappable. So that is why Lisa is on there.
I didn't see that in her resume.
I'm just telling you, I've worked with her, and it takes a lot to get her wound up. And she's that person who chimes in when everybody else is arguing and says, well, how can we come together with this? Or can we, and given the, you know, like I said, that I saw a lot of strong personalities, and I didn't see a lot of women on that list, that's why Lisa's on there.
I think Joe's probably a pretty easygoing guy, too.
Who?
Joe Flanagan. But you know what, I mean, Lisa was one that I had.
5 kids, he's got to be.
Yeah, I mean, I did have a check mark next to, because she's not involved with anything.
Exactly, and she's utterly neutral.
I mean, you have.
So you're saying you're supporting, you're not supporting?
Oh, I'm supporting her, because
Okay.
if that was me, I would come in and just like start banging questions, because I didn't explain, tell me, wherever the people
Okay.
are coming with experience.
Well,
So
that's what I'm
she's
looking for, some kind of information.
Yeah, so no, I would go for her just because she's an outside person.
Yeah, with no
baggage?
No baggage. Ira was actually a recommendation of George Pendergast.
Mm-hmm.
As someone with a lot of fire experience, with fire, who had lived in the town, who,
I know Ira.
yeah, so that was why he was on that list.
He's the only one who sent in a resume. So we're doing Lisa, correct?
Yes, please.
What are your thoughts on Ira? Like,
the name sounded familiar, but I couldn't place anything that he did or did not do, which is also a good thing, because you want to also not put people in a position that would not make for a good committee. He's got the background on it. He did live in Berlin. He kind of knows the politics of the town. I'm okay. I mean, I'm not overwhelmed, but he would lean more towards okay.
Okay.
Do you have
Do you
somebody
have
else
someone
on the
else
list?
that you'd like?
No, you've gone through all mine.
Okay. Then I would say,
I don't know this one. Do you know this one?
he's new to town.
87
Once again,
South
he
Street?
was recommended as
Adrian?
somebody who might be a neutral party who was new and could maybe bring a different perspective.
So you know Adrian?
I don't know Adrian.
Okay.
He was just, I asked if folks had people who were interested to send them over, and I think, Tricia, do you know Adrian?
Adrian?
AJ?
AJ Moses, yeah. They moved from the Midwest. Very knowledgeable about
Bachelor of
neutral,
Science and
I
Statistics.
think. He's a BS in
Mhm.
statistics.
Mm-hmm.
He's a smart guy.
And Ted's also, Ted Kamataris has tons of fire experience, lives in town but isn't in the middle of the fray.
Did I get that one? I don't remember looking at that
Tom.
one.
Ted?
Tom.
It's Ted.
No, it's listed as
I know,
Tom.
his name is Ted. He blusters, but
He what?
he blusters.
What do you mean he blusters?
I mean, he's, you know Ted. Do you know Ted? How would you explain it? How would you?
Yeah, blusters.
He's not a quiet person.
Yeah.
Your neighbor Ted, yeah.
Everywhere.
Our neighbor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our neighbor.
Exactly.
Ah,
Yeah. He's
last
got, like,
one.
35 years of experience in the fire department.
Well, 34 years. He's a retired fire department lieutenant, 34 years. Well, this one looks fine to me. Get some new people involved.
So you're fine with Ted?
Again, I'm not wowed, but I'm okay.
Well, yeah, we can't.
I
We
know.
gotta pick some of
I
these
know.
people pick.
I know. Oh, come on, I gave you 1, 2,
Okay.
I gave you 4.
Did we take?
So let's
we
do
said yes
Ted,
to
let's do
Ira.
Ira.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
6.
6.
And then who else?
Well, there's a couple people in the room we can talk about. We can talk about in front of them because, well, they're sitting here.
Okay.
So, the woman in the front, that'd
Okay.
be you.
I'm gonna say no to Janet because Janet's on the other committee, and I'd like to spread the stuff around.
I'd rather be on this committee than the other committee.
No,
I
no,
asked.
you want no,
I'm
I-
just saying.
I asked Peg. I
I
said,
know,
which
but
one
I
would
thought
she
I was
rather
gonna
be
get
on?
to be on both, that's why I said, so.
Okay.
I would've-
You didn't know we were gonna have so many
I've already
candidates
done a
here.
little research for the other one too, and I've had numerous people calling me already, because they knew I
Okay.
applied for this. So I'll have to share that with
We
somebody.
could move Janet over and have 7 on the other committee. I'm not opposed to that. if
Trisha's
that's
like,
what she
come
wants.
I
on.
want her to be on the TA committee.
What do you want,
No, I
Janet?
think-
Which
I'm
one?
gonna have to think long and hard on that one. I can't give you an answer tonight. I'm sorry. I really do have to think about it. Or you have to make
Pete,
the decision.
do you have anything you want to add? You want to say?
Nothing?
No?
Seriously?
I will say that gentleman AJ, fantastic person,
Yeah, that's a good guy.
wicked smart, a lot of common sense. Even though he's new to town, he's really a great
Good.
asset to the town.
Well, it's kind of good to get some new people, new faces involved, right?
Do you want to make AJ the 7th?
Oh, we didn't pick him already?
No,
Pick
we
him, no,
have
That would be 7, though.
Tom, Lisa, Sharon, Mr. Pendergast, Ira, and Joe.
Well, with your recommendation,
I met him last week somewhere. Yeah. I think 90 Carter.
is that 7?
That would be
That would,
7.
he would be 7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right.
So you good with that list?
I'm good.
Okay.
Can you just do a so voted?
Do I hear a motion? So voted.
Yes.
So voted. So voted. Aye, aye, aye. All right. Thank you.
Do you need this? Or
Nope.
Did you get all the?
Got them all?
Okay.
Thank you. All right, we also have an appointment to the Personnel Committee for Sue
Motion
Terrian.
to approve.
Seconded. Hurry up and vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
She can't get away now.
Yeah, as I said, she had come up to me after Coffee 2.0 and said, "What do you think?" And I said, "I think you should."
All righty. Fire EMS Chief, a response to RFP for executive recruiters for the Fire EMS Chief.
Okay. I'm gonna jump right in and say we shouldn't do the firm from the Midwest.
Oh, the one from Chicago?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be a very bad idea.
Yeah, I think we eliminate that one.
I can't even imagine dumping somebody culturally from the Midwest into this, having done it myself.
Yeah.
Not that I don't love it here, it's just a different place.
Yeah. So, that leaves the 2, Badge Quest and MRI. Do we want to interview them? We've already interviewed MRI, but not for the fire.
Yeah.
It would be
Chief.
different people too for MRI.
Yeah. I think I'd be interested in seeing both of them, interviewing them both.
Agreed. Agreed.
Okay.
Yep.
Peg, do you want to arrange for them to come?
I would love to.
Oh, good.
When? Where's the calendar?
Oh, boy.
Well, you already have 2 appointments next week, right?
2 weeks from now. Does that work?
Oh, Lord. 22nd, so we're looking at February 4th. Oh my God, I get to dress up twice in February for our meetings.
Having
Why?
as Cupid or what?
One for Cupid and one for President's Day.
Oh, my God.
What?
All right.
Valentine.
So let's look at the calendar for this.
You need to
Yeah.
wear a lot of clothes though. It's cold out.
Oh, yeah, don't even worry about that. I was thinking more like with a weapon coming into the meetings, just saying.
There are no appointments on February 4th. So
Okay. And that gives them time also, so.
What's
hopefully
that?
That gives them time to be available, hopefully.
So flip of the coin, who goes first?
Yeah. Maybe next time. I know. Do you think it'll take a half an hour each?
No.
I don't think so.
You're
And what
gonna
I'm
have to
thinking is, can we
maybe a
just set up
timer
one
or-
time for the appointments to start and then have them be continuous? I know they were
Yeah.
continuous tonight,
Just
but that was
because they were
because one
long.
was long.
And I couldn't get him here at,
Want to do 7:10, 7:15, and just have them be back to back?
Yeah.
Do you want to assign one first? Or you're going to schedule this?
Yeah, let them pick times with Peg.
Okay.
What if they both
Yeah.
pick the same time?
well, one of the.
I get to make the executive,
yeah.
oh, Mr. MRI guy, Or will he be the same one where they may need the
No.
later appointment? Okay.
No, I don't think so.
That
was
wasn't,
the-
that was Community Paradigm that needed
Alright.
the later appointment.
All right.
Yeah.
So 7:10 and 7:40? That's a half hour?
No, we'll just start them at 7:10 and do one after the other. You can just
Well, you gotta-
tell them
Well, you gotta tell
approximately,
them.
yeah, but do them approximately
All right, 7:10,
20
7:40.
minutes, half an hour.
Okay.
If you explain that we're starting them at 7:10.
All righty, you got
Maybe we
it.
should get the green card, red card thing, and when they're getting close, you can hold up. the
Ding 'em?
red card. Yeah.
Put
I
an
can
egg
start to
timer,
sing.
egg timer.
You can start to sing. All right,
I
I'll
thought
reach
we were
out to
gonna
them.
have to get the shepherd's crook for the first guys.
Yeah. Well, they were trying to get to know everyone.
I know, I'm just saying, I thought we were gonna need to like.
We could
No,
use
no,
that
you
at
need
town
to
meeting
go
a few
now.
times. All right, and the next thing, did I miss?
Budget.
No, application
Oh,
count.
application count of resumes.
Application count of resumes received for interim fire EMS chief is,
Well, 16, but some of them applied for chief.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about. They're not for interim, are they, all of them? Somebody's gonna have to go through and make sure they're.
Well, there was
The
one that,
screening committee, I guess.
the last one that came in was for chief, specifically said chief.
You didn't see any of the applicants because the selectmen aren't seeing them.
did you get the one?
Somebody
One of
came
them
in.
came, the
Come by
Princeton-
email. Did you get
One
the
of,
one
yeah,
by
one of them came by
over
email
the
to all of
weekend?
us.
Yeah.
Oh, and he sent it to everybody?
Yeah,
Okay.
and he specifically
did-
said chief.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe we need to, maybe that's part of letting the committee know, here are your applications, but you're gonna need to look. Well, they
Well,
can go through them first and
either that
then
or the
make sure they're for
the-
chief.
The screening firm.
I can send an email to
Can do
everybody,
that.
just ask
Well,
them to
except
confirm.
they're not doing our interim, are they?
Oh, no, you're right, you're right.
They,
Here, I
yeah,
wasn't
they're not
thinking.
even gonna be, we need to start doing that like now
Yeah,
to get somebody in here hopefully by February or by March 1st.
right. Yeah, sorry, I was thinking of the fire chief search.
No, short term,
Okay.
which may be long term.
All right, so, I think we're gonna have to hold on that. We're saying there's about 16, but are any definitely interim number?
Oh, yeah, definitely some of them are interim.
Okay, but there's a total of 16 so far.
Right.
Okay.
Would you
So-
reach out to those who said chief and ask if,
Would you like me to do that?
Well, maybe you should let the screening committee go through the applications first, so maybe you don't have to make so many calls.
Well, 16 is
Doesn't,
not that bad.
do it by email to
Okay.
just the ones that were not clear.
That's
So
fine.
I have a
Yeah.
paper trail.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
All
can
right,
do that
would you
tonight.
do that?
Yep.
Okay. FY20 budget, legal expenses. I finally got connected to Lauren from KP Law today. Did you
I
get
read
the?
that.
You what?
I read that.
Okay.
I was wondering.
Bye.
Thank you. I was wondering if, for budgeting purposes, it might make sense to investigate the retainer, because it's easier to have a consistent month to month, even if it,
You did read the email?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Right?
Well, the only thing is that she said, looking at, what you've spent and what you generally spend, which I know she doesn't have this year's all yet.
Mhm.
She was saying it didn't look like it would be cost effective, because all of the things that we're spending most of the legal on are things outside of what the retainer person or the retainer would
Approach.
cover.
See, I thought that she was sort of saying that they could figure out a price that was based on what they suspected our usage would be. And we'd sometimes go over and sometimes go under, but it would be a consistent, you'd pay it
No,
X amount
I think she was
monthly.
saying at the end of the year, sometimes the firm makes out and sometimes the town
Yeah.
makes out. She said at any time, though, if we decide that, that we want them to look at what we're spending, we could always go to, the retainer route.
Mm.
I wrote down anything else that
Yeah, I mean, the appeal to doing that for me is a couple of things. It's then, you know, on the basic stuff, we would never have to decide again whether it was worth it to get legal or not, because we'd have access to them for all
Well,
the
it
basic.
depends on what it is, though.
Well, I know, but most of the stuff that we do the decisions on, they're available. You know, they all fit under.
Have you got the?
Yeah. It's attendance at
Matters
meetings. and
typically
business.
falling into the retainer category.
Yeah.
But she said most of the things that we've been asking them to help with are on the bottom
Or
section.
the expensive
which,
things.
Which are then, in addition to the retainer, you have to pay for
Well,
an hourly rate for the ones on the bottom.
Of course, but the retainer would be based on the general legal, not the whole thing. It would be based on the general. And then anything we did in these categories would then be over and above.
Yes,
So
would
this
be.
would allow us to potentially say, okay, this is our legal budget, just like insurance. This is our legal budget for the year. This is what we will pay for general. And then we would never, you know, when we're researching, writing opinion letters or reviewing things or town meeting stuff, all of that would fall under that, and we wouldn't have to ever, like, say, well, I'm not sure, should we get legal for this, should we not get legal for this? So it's just something to think about.
Peg?
I mean, I'm going through big girl questions. Yeah, I mean, I do agree that we've tapped them for things that fall outside the normal scope. And we're gonna need to, these are the ones that get us, you know, the matters that fall outside.
Mm-hmm.
We're pretty good at figuring out all of the above, but it's down here where we need the most help. So they're recommending, so the rate will go up a wee bit, correct?
Mm-hmm.
In FY '20, just like $5 an hour.
Oh, yes.
Their rate.
I'm not even positive.
Okay.
A lot of their other clients actually pay
Higher.
more now.
Yep.
And she called ours a discounted rate.
I'm not quite
So,
sure how to take that.
Yeah.
So then what would we put aside for a retainer amount? Or is that not relevant to this discussion?
She did not give me numbers for the retainer.
Yeah. I think for the budget, we're gonna have to just figure out numbers, but I think it's
chunk.
worth probably having the conversation about the retainer thing, just because I think anytime you're trying to budget, having a set number
Yeah.
as close as you can.
I think we
Makes
would
sense.
actually be paying more.
Well, I think some years we'd be paying more and some years we'd be paying less. I think it would.
No, I
depend on how
honestly
they come
think
in.
she didn't give me a number for the retainer, but I'm guessing it's close to $100,000. Was there-
I don't think so. I think that's not what she said, but that would be a question to ask. But
Mhm.
right now, we just need a legal
She
ask
was
for
she was
next
pretty
year.
much looking at our records when she talked with me on the phone,
Mhm.
and she said she wouldn't recommend it because you don't have enough of the items that are covered by the retainer. She said, but you can always change it if you find that you want to. So I was going probably with her recommendation at this point.
All that conservation stuff on the grid she provided you is not really part of the legal expenses discussion anyhow, because it's all covered by the Conservation Open Space Fund. They have their own, they pay their own bills, so that grid didn't really do a lot
Oh,
to
okay,
show
because
what
she
you're
was also
spending on.
including conservation.
Yeah, that has nothing
in
to
it.
do with your legal expenses
Right,
budget.
And you
right.
gotta figure Capes of Berlin,
Well, that was the biggie, right?
yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
much done. So that's a giant chunk.
BBS and Maplewood.
Yeah, I mean, the Benson property, that's done.
Well, a lot of these were, some of them I don't even remember,
Well, some of them are from FY16.
right?
I mean, you gotta look, it's really not too bad. So we started at 14 in FY16, we went up to 16 in FY17, and kind of sort of stayed around the same amount in 18, but here we are in 19, and we're already 2,000 up.
Mm-hmm. So, what I would recommend is budgeting either $70,000 or $80,000 for legal, and
You think 80?
Oh, yeah, all day long.
No, I was just asking.
80 all day long?
Oh, yeah.
So, ask for 80.
You're not gonna even get 80, because they'll
They'll
knock it down, they think.
well, maybe, but we'll see.
And then we'll do a reserve fund transfer.
Yep,
But
yep.
regardless, let's ask for what we think is a realistic number.
Right.
Okay. We need
So
to-
it says 70 on there right now, because
Yep.
I can change it, or you can just pencil it, change it.
Well, will it look better if you have it typed in there
Yeah.
already?
I can do that.
All right. I mean, you don't have to do it this very minute. I can sign it.
Sign it tonight.
Yeah, before we leave, I can sign it. All right. So, Mary, we're deferring the annual report, correct?
Yes.
Because I'm working off an old agenda. The next thing on our agenda was the
Food pantry?
food pantry, with a 5-year. Wait a minute here.
We have 5-year lease agreement at $1, room
Yep.
111, kitchen.
And we provided their insurance certificate, right?
Yes, they did.
Have we just let Maya know, just so that they're aware?
I
They
believe.
asked me annually in a questionnaire if we
Yeah.
have any tenants in the building. And we've kind of whiffed on this answer for a while, so informing them proactively I think is
Can
easy
we
to do.
let them know?
Yeah.
I believe that's why we had them put us as an insured, Mary.
Yes,
Yeah.
now, but in the past.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you still, Maya should know because they're our insurance company and
Right.
they're, I
It
actually.
wasn't the approach in the past, but yes, they should be advised that we
Yeah.
have tenants in the building, yeah.
Yeah.
I did, I
Okay.
actually talked to an insurance friend and yes, they said absolutely let your insurance company know, even if,
Mm-hmm. All right, so do I hear a motion to approve the
motion to.
5-year lease agreement with
Motion
the
to approve.
$1, so on and so forth?
Do you want to specify that it's for room 111 kitchen? Because that doesn't say it.
For room 111, kitchen.
No, it says
Oh,
on the
you mean-
agenda, it doesn't say it
I thought you meant in the
in
motion.
your contract.
You're a hot mess.
Can you put that in, Mary?
I can type that in.
All right.
But then, yeah, I can type it in.
Or just,
Just initial that, and then I'll have them, and I'll have Valerie initial it too.
okay.
Or I can type it in.
And today is the 22nd day of January. Oh, there's multiple copies. Is this the first one you've signed?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm gonna put it in the folder.
Right above your folder, Chris, is the,
Oh. We voted this, correct? Aye.
yes.
Yes.
All right. budget, food pantry, elimination of selectmen liaison assignments. Lisa, you had sent in your version. I sent in my version. I think the intent is basically the same.
Well, I just split off. Volunteers and employees need different information.
Oh, yeah.
Volunteers don't care how we communicate with our employees. They just want to know what they need to do. And then the employees already know they're the ones who actually requested that the liaison be dissolved.
Yeah.
So they already know why. They don't need an explanation. They just need to know what they need to do next.
Okay.
So I just simplified a lot and split out the information based on the group.
Yep. Peg, do you got anything to add?
The only, I did, I went through and matched them up, and they are pretty much the same. The only item that I think that we need to put out as a gentle reminder, Chris, was in your version about the Selectmen kindly remind you of the obligation to create and release timely minutes of your meetings, because, well, we know that doesn't happen. Well,
Did I even look? Where was that?
down there,
I wondered if I had the same one.
very last paragraph.
Maybe you didn't.
I don't know if I had the same one. Oh, this isn't what I had.
Well, I just highlighted the yellow.
No, I'm just saying this wasn't what I had.
Oh, that was
I
my,
had- I
that was
had
my
pegs.
version.
Yeah, that's
But
your
I had
version.
it. I looked
Here's
at that
Lisa's
email and
version.
I had a
Oh, no,
copy.
I
That's
think-
not it. This is it. That's yours, right?
Right, but that was Lisa's.
Just
Her.
because it's a sea of
I didn't
paper, I
even-
put yours with a blue header and I put
Yeah.
Chris's with a yellow
I
header.
never saw this, Chris.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
The one I
you
had.
sent
I
it this
had
afternoon. You said that was version 2 that you made.
Oh, but you know what I did? You had corrected some
Yeah.
typos and things,
Yep.
which,
Then you sent it back out.
yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me see that one too.
Maybe Mary's the one who added the
Okay.
obligation to put out the minutes in a
No,
timely
I did.
manner.
I sent it back to everybody saying,
Right, and
Or I
she
sent it back
probably
to
didn't
you.
have that
maybe I
version.
sent it back to you, but I thought you sent that to everybody.
Yeah, so what is-
I
I had
thought I did too.
one that
Did you
looked
have it? You had it.
an awful lot like Peg's version. And
Yeah.
it may have been Peg's version. And I looked specifically to see whether it was. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, see, that's why I went through and my scribbled hieroglyphics on the side and matched
So
up
we just
Lisa's,
changed it to
Lisa.
almost the exact same thing then.
Pretty much, it's just formatted different, and then if we could just add
Okay,
this.
I never saw that.
No. Yeah, it went to everybody at 1
Okay.
o'clock to Peg,
The one
Lisa.
I was working off of
12:58 p.m.
was.
Draft 2, I lost track of the template mentioned. And then
Okay.
she
Yeah, well, I
attached.
had that email, and the attachment that I had was not. When I opened it, it was not.
How does that happen?
Not this.
No, it just doesn't have yellow on
A
it.
magical-
No, I'm telling you, it did not read like that.
That's to departments.
So can we just take Lisa's and add that last paragraph, and are we good? Because truly, the data is,
The same.
it's the same. I mean, it's a different order, who cares? But the key points are there.
Yeah,
And again, just a gentle reminder to.
Sorry,
Get your-
That's okay.
never saw it.
that's okay.
Hmm?
It is there.
It's there
Yeah.
somewhere.
No, it's exactly the same as what you have there.
Yeah,
Okay.
just minus
The
your
one
last
I was
paragraph.
working
So-
off was Peg's.
I'm hearing that we're going to
Use Lisa's with the final paragraph tacked
use
onto it.
Lisa's with the final paragraph about the minutes.
Yep.
And
So now do
and
we?
now we need
Okay,
to
take that
vote
blue one
also
back.
to
Right.
eliminate the liaisons.
Okay, all right, so.
You do it all at once, or?
Yep, so based on this, I make a motion to formally eliminate the position of liaison.
Okay, and vote, and do Lisa's with the,
And vote on Lisa's with an added paragraph from one of Chris's versions.
Well, I suggested.
I think we're all good.
all right,
Moving on now.
Okay,
all right. I, right?
so do we get a second?
I'll
it's all
second
good.
it.
All right, and a vote?
Aye.
Boom, boom, chaka-laka-laka, boom.
All right, I don't know whose all these are. Those are yours.
Those are my hieroglyphics, yes.
I guess that's mine. This must be mine too. Okay. Other new business?
I'll let you guys go first, because I have a few.
Well, let's see if I have it. Did you all see the emails about the signs that we could put up at the South Common Pond?
Oh, I missed that one.
No.
That wasn't only to me, was it?
Richard Africans wrote back to everybody with a link to Google Shopping on what signs you could just buy off the internet. He did not copy everybody on that?
That was like my first email I got this morning, I believe.
Oh, I didn't see that one. The only
No.
post that I saw was it was on the town page with the, thin ice
I
thing.
sent that to, yes, Chris was on that, but not the other. I'll forward that to everybody now.
That was a Walmart.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Walmart signs you could buy.
Well, it's cheaper
And there were
than
two
town
of them for
council anyhow.
$35.
You buy a 2-pack from Walmart, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the suggestions I had too was perhaps we could allocate at some point funds to set up a safe place to skate.
You mean on the pond?
No, I mean not on the pond, because the pond isn't really a safe place to skate.
Flood the basketball court.
You could flood the basketball court.
Oh, I see
You
what
could
you
get
mean.
a structure and flood that. You could.
Sears.
There are lots of
Oh, that
inexpensive
sounds like a
ways
recreation
to do
thing.
that.
Doesn't it?
What about Hartson's Pond? Do people even know that exists anymore? We used to
As long as
skate on
it's
it
not
as a
town
kid.
property, that's all.
No?
Go skate over there.
A lot of stumps and rocks and
Oh, is there? Oh, well, that shows you how long since it's been since I was
the
skating down there.
lights don't work anymore.
Oh, okay. All right, well, scratch that idea.
All right, well, I just wondered if you'd seen the signs in the emails. Mary will
Just sent it.
send them to you all, and
This sign? That's a lot of words on that sign.
no, I think that's an email.
No. Lost control bulletin. Okay.
Don't be silly, don't skate here.
Thin ice may not be safe. Use at your own risk.
Okay.
So we're gonna have you make up the sign.
Oh, you don't want me to make up the sign. You don't want me to make up that sign. Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, that was other new business, correct?
Oh, I have more.
Hang on, I'm looking through my list here.
All right.
Well, that'll be something I can put on the agenda then. So, that's not other new business. All right, go ahead.
So the issue that came up today about the access to the building due to lack of shoveling. I see that the door is shoveled out, but the mailboxes are not shoveled out. Who is responsible for shoveling the building?
This is an every year adventure.
We need to assign it to somebody.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, who?
When there was a janitor here, the janitor would do it. When the janitor didn't do it, then fire a volunteer to do it. Then fire, I guess that might have been a limited 1-year run last year, because fire's not doing it now, even though he said the per diems could do it. So now, with a new facility superintendent, it's not on anyone's radar. He's focusing on the roads.
As he should.
And there isn't a staffer here now. It used to be Tom Steele, would at least be one of his laborers who's kind of attached to this building, but that doesn't exist anymore. So there really doesn't seem to be anyone.
So,
How about we talk to fire,
Chiefs.
since they did it last year,
Yeah.
and see if they could do it again this year.
Well, could we talk to Chief Galvin as well, where his people are here, and because there's safety, so
And
fire
then talk
and
to
police.
Fire.
I think fire's
Make it
more
one-
likely to be in the
All right.
building.
Okay.
And don't, one person needs to be the
Shovel
point.
person.
You can't say.
Yeah, otherwise we'll have
otherwise
the problem we have
it's
now.
You.
All right.
Ah.
Yeah.
All right, I'll reach out to Paul. I'll take that as an action item.
Okay, let us know if there's a
And if-
problem. Maybe
if-
we'll come up
yeah.
with something else.
But that's where we'd start, since they offered to do it last year, and maybe it just fell off the radar this year.
Okay. The next one I had, we had talked about ADA in the door, and Mary, you were kind enough to send me BZ Benson's email addresses, and I reached out and heard nothing. So I chatted with Mr. Dennis, and there is a company in Marlboro, 101 Mobility, that they can come out here and do a consultation and see what it would cost to get the doors up, because even if it's not, besides the fact that it needs to be ADA compliant, if you have seniors in here coming in for food pantry, they've got to be able to open the door, so it doesn't matter if you're on crutches or you just can't open the door. We need to do something
I don't know why
about
the doors
that.
have been smashed already. Nestle delivers all their water to the building on a long dolly, and he has to
Jimmy, the door.
sashay through the glass, try to rush his trolley basically through glass doors. It's not just, it's all kinds of deliveries. It's the
Where it'd be
pantry
just so much
deliveries,
nicer if you could bang, go
Staples
in.
deliveries, Amazon deliveries, Quill. It's
I just-
constant.
I do want to note that it's more complicated than just putting push buttons. You need to put blowers on to make sure that you're not letting all of the air out of the building. There's a lot involved in this, just so you don't have a heart attack when you see how much this is going to cost.
They might
So,
need to be bid.
right, so is it worth it to start calling around to different companies? Because, I mean, if you typed up, what did I type in? Automatic door openers for the disabled. The page just went and loaded. So it's not like there aren't companies out here to come out and do a consultation. Because right now we have nothing. We have nothing on this. And I think that we owe it to the town to do something on this. And it could be $1 bazillion and we say no. It could be 10,000 and we say yes. It could be anywhere in between, but we have to do something.
In time for town meeting if it's a capital item. Well, which is kind of late, but
So what do we want to do?
Did we, I believe we asked
We asked,
Dave to,
and Joe.
and Joe to get us a quote.
And
If-
nothing's come
Why
back.
don't you send an email to them and ask whether they were still intending to do this? In the case that they say no,
okay.
would you like to do it?
I still shorten her list.
No, it won't.
Sorry.
No, it won't.
Sorry.
No, I got it. I got it. Door. All right. All right.
So we can move forward with this?
Yeah, I'll move forward with it. And I'm glad you're here. Don't look at me like that.
She did not.
No, there had been a few other parents that had come up and approached me about the whole thing with Assabet. And basically their feeling was, I just go around it. I've already had kids go through it. I know what to do. I just go off and do it. So I called Lauren Gonzalez over at Assabet, and she walked through the process with me. Could you share the email that you sent or that you talked to the other day? I forget the gentleman that you talked to, Superintendent?
Jeff
Well,
Zangi.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I'd just like to compare his thought process with what Lauren shared, just to see if they're on.
Well, I went to school council Monday, and
At which school?
At Toronto.
Okay.
I sit on the
Right.
I'm a parent liaison with Val Muldoon for Berlin for the school council. And I went to bring it up, and Sally Stuka and Diane Tusseri, so Sally is the vice principal, Diane is the principal, had already spoken to the superintendent, and they were all on, you know, they were already discussing it and knew that the townspeople had a concern about it, and there was a plan already, so I didn't have to say anything.
They share what the plan was?
They're working on it, but the impression I got, and we didn't really discuss it because sounded like it was already on their radar and they knew there were some concerns, was that they do have some type of shadowing that goes along, and they allow the students to go over and do it. There was a year or two where it was a little mixed up, and I don't really quite know what that was about, but I know that it was on their radar, and they were, when I brought it up, it wasn't like they were against
Not
it.
at all.
Yeah,
I
very-
talked to him again, not at all.
Yeah, they're very open to allowing whoever wants to go, go.
It's
I
an
think one
excused
little
absence,
glitch is
it's-
that the Boylston town isn't part of the founding town, which, you know, the Boylston kids don't get that privilege of just being able to apply. They have to go on to the
School choice.
you know, the
No.
wait list or
Oh.
whatever they
There's
do.
There's a
But
membership.
it sounded to me like they were all working together to
They're a
try to make
non-member.
it very amicable for any student that wanted to go.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Can-
was the
can
response
you-
I got too.
Can you forward that email though to both Peg and I? And so I don't even remember what all you had to say, but or he said. I mean, that'd be good.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
just highly, so I spoke with Ms. Tucheri, the high school principal. It turns out that we do allow students to visit ASVET during the day. There was a time when we took all 8th graders on a tour of ASVET, but that was stopped because the practice resulted in a lost day of instruction. What we do instead is allow students to visit ASVET during the day with an excused absence. In addition, our counselors visit each 8th grade classroom to discuss ASVET and what they have to offer. An ASVET representative also visits Tohoto during the day. We allow students to sign up to hear the presentation. If a student applies, we allow ASVET to conduct the interview at Tohoto so that the student does not need to travel. In terms of applications, we have 20 students applying this year. This is the most we've had in the last 4 years.
Okay.
Okay. I might just check with Lynn Ryan and see how Assabet's feeling about it too.
Okay.
But if you could forward that to us, I'd appreciate it.
And then I'll pile on, when Lisa sends that, I'll pile on my notes from Lauren, who is very, very nice. Let's see, there was an email swirling around a while ago about the Hampshire County Government Grant, and Tim Wheeler took charge on it and
Mhm.
said that he was gonna look into it. His suggestion is no, because he did some Googling and saw that the Hampshire COG was having some financial issues.
Okay.
So, I
Well,
think.
thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. And then, bloop, bloop, bloop. Just a couple questions. Do we know when the next consultant is coming in? Dennis says, did he say that there was one that couldn't come in last Monday?
I don't believe he has
They came in
a.
and saw Dennis, didn't they?
Not yet, because he asked if I'd like to come, and I said, well, depends on when it is, and I haven't heard when it is, unless he already did it without telling me.
Well, I mean, it would seem kind of odd that you had two consultants come in and do a presentation and only one would do it with him, so.
Well, no, they couldn't make that Monday night.
Right, so is there a follow-up for them to come in and talk to us? Do we know?
He will probably follow up if he's done an interview with them and follow up with us to let us know
Okay.
information. I mean, if you really wanted to, we could ask that third consultant to come in.
Well, no, I just didn't know where that,
It just didn't
Was
work
it
out
just
for them on
kinda-
that Monday night.
all right, it just kind of dropped.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
think the insurance advisory committee needs to weigh in too, right?
Probably.
They can, yeah.
All right, I can email Dennis and just ask him. I know that he wrote a rather long email, but
Right.
I'll check in with him. And then the last one that I had, Mary, I was wondering if there's been any pushback on our input about the warrants, how we have a drop dead date. Has anybody come up to you and said, no, this is unreasonable? I just want to get a temperature feel of people making sure that they know we have a deadline and we're sticking to it. You heard
No, but
anything?
the Conservation Commission is gonna have an appointment in front of you next Monday to just discuss what they didn't say what, about
Okay.
something for the warrant.
Okay.
Oh, there weren't
Um,
articles, yeah.
I don't think I've actually heard anybody say that they had a complication.
All right, then we're good. I'm
Okay.
good.
I know Energy was a little bit panicked because their only meeting was the one before that deadline was the one that they just had, so they had to kind of throw it together that night. And they only had 3 people there, so.
Yeah, but the
they
write-up
were a
was
little
good.
bit-
I mean, it was succinct, it was clear, there was a summary.
Tim says thank you.
In advance.
Okay. All right, that's all I had.
Okay, on the insurance stuff, I did talk to Bob Conry. He had been sick, so I did catch up with him. Right now, they're sort of knee-deep in trying to pull all of their stuff together,
Yeah.
which makes sense. What we did talk about was kind of keeping each other in the loop, seeing if we can start maybe aligning a little closer for potential future, because he didn't rule it out for future, just the thought was right now.
You're talking about the joining of
The
the
joining,
region
potentially-
in Berlin and maybe Boylston
Yeah,
for health
for
insurance.
health insurance, to
Okay.
give us a little bit more economy of scale than we have currently. I don't think any of us are in the position to do it like right now, but I think it would make sense if we started sort of at least keeping track of each other's benefits so that we can maybe move in the same direction in case this is an avenue that we want to take.
And I think that's probably about what Dennis told us the last time he had checked in with them too.
Yeah, he was very helpful though, and I was able to help him a
Good.
little bit with
He's very
information.
helpful. Yeah.
So, yeah. And he thought it was potentially a good long-term idea, and he would sort of, he said he'd also sort of hang out and see if other regions had done it and how they'd done it. I know that other regions have done it,
Mhm.
so, yeah, it was a good conversation.
Good. Richard Drive, we're in the process of getting as much information as we can.
Correct, I mean, I've been
And then
told
I-
that it's a private road.
Yeah, and I think
Um,
essentially we're going to end up drafting a letter of some kind. We'll just have to figure out, we're still sort of assimilating the information.
I mean,
Um,
and truly, we need to find out what's wrong with it. Is there anything wrong with it? Is it just in a wrong spot that he doesn't like? I don't know.
No, you said you were going to go for a ride
I'm gonna go in for a ride.
with Denny,
Yes, with Mr. Bartlett.
and I'm sure he'll give you some background too. I did take a ride before Keith left. The two of us went up there and took a ride too, so I've got
Some notes.
some,
Okay.
well, I've got some background information too. So I wanted to let you guys know too that Mary and Tim Wheeler and Eloise and I had a conference call with DHCD, right?
Mhm.
To talk about the issue that Becky McDonald had written to us about by email about her condo fee. It had gone from, I think, $300 to like $500 or something, and wondered if we could help. It wasn't very obvious to any of us that DHCD was going to be much help with that. I think they were essentially asking us to get our town council involved.
Yet at the same time, they will not do the same. So they're asking the town to consider mediating between the homeowner and the condo association, but even though they're in the business, they won't do it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So the only good thing that I felt came out of that phone call was that Tim and Eloise and I had a chance to talk to afterwards, and I remember that Amy had told us that she would be glad to come in and talk to us at a meeting or at a separate night meeting to talk about how not to lose your 40Bs. And at first Tim thought that was a great idea, and he was suggesting that maybe Berlin Housing Partnership could pay for Amy to come in and give us a presentation on this, and she might actually be able to touch on this issue with Becky McDonald. Then when I talked to Lauren Goldberg today, she said that they will come in twice a year and do any kind of presentation that you need.
Free.
Free of charge. And so I mentioned this, having Amy come in to talk to us about this. And she said, yeah, that would fall right into that category, and that we could, at some point we can arrange to do that. But I wanted to run it by both of you first. And Tim suggested if we do this, that we invite the planning board members and the ZBA members, that they might be interested in the conversation that Amy can share with us about how to hang on to your 40Bs, because we have lost 2 or 3 up at Sawyer Hill, I think we lost one in Alden Drive. There's a potential for another one that we're gonna lose with the issue with Becky. So,
Will that put us under the 10%?
no, I don't
No,
think so.
The apartments are gonna put us way over.
Okay.
But, you know, it's good information that we want to have, and I think Tim's interested in, as a planning board member too, you know, what can help us to stay at the level we need to stay at, even as more houses are built.
Okay.
And so I was going to run it by you guys and see if you thought that was a good idea. At some point, we could have Amy either come on another night or to one of our meetings.
Not to one of our meetings.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Town
It's
council has come to
9:45.
Thursday night town officers meetings before for procurement, public records, open meeting.
Right.
Or maybe you bring them into a planning meeting if
Yeah, I
they're
was gonna
not-
say, does ZBA and planning ever meet
Well,
on
I
the
can
same
talk-
night?
I can-
No,
No.
Just
We-
thoughts.
we just pick one.
But maybe I can work out something that, with Tim and ZBA and find out something that will work.
Okay,
Does that sound good?
it's a benefit,
Great.
absolutely.
All right. That's all I got.
Quick, make a
First
motion.
Oh, motion.
Twice during the evening when the committees of the firms were here talking, Tricia asked me to ask this because we both looked at each other and Scott looked at me and said, I don't know what she's talking about. Chris, you mentioned something about a prior town administrator twice.
Yeah.
We want to know who it was and when was it?
Mary Cooper and Pat Demers. They were.
Pat Demers, I remember Pat
When?
Demers. It was quite a while ago.
They weren't town administrators.
No, I guess they weren't. That was their,
part-time.
their,
So-
their shot at.
So what was it? When was this? Can you?
Pat Demers is the one that I remember.
When though, ish? I know, were any of us living in
They
town?
sat in there, so
I
it's within
was.
the past 20 years because they sat in that office. Their
Yeah.
files are still in there.
Really?
And what was the position then?
Administrative
I
assistant.
don't remember what the title was, but it was like a town
They
administrator.
do project-based research, and
And it just, the whole thing fell apart.
one was considered to be stronger than the other.
They
And
were
the
here at the
second
same
people?
time.
There's
They
two
were-
different people, one and then the other. The first one was a success, allegedly, I don't know. And then the second one, not so much, and so then they zeroed it out in the budget.
Interesting.
Peg Sardell.
And who was the other person?
Peg was worked with that person.
Who?
Peg Sardell.
Oh, so maybe.
No, no,
Peg-
not Peggy Sardell was not in that position.
No, but she worked with the person.
True.
So who were the two
So
people?
you're saying Pat Demers?
Pat Demers and, no, yeah, Pat Demers and Mary Cooper, I believe are the
Mary
names.
Cooper?
It was back when Diane Peterson was on the assessors. It was quite a while
Oh,
ago.
God.
On the Board of Assessors.
Well, she was an assessor. Yeah, she was
Yeah.
on the Board of Assessor too.
Mid-80s?
No, because they worked in that
No,
office.
probably
This
in the
building's only
90s.
been open since
Really?
2000.
Huh,
I don't think it was what we're doing here.
yeah.
No, it's not the same.
No, I think it
Well,
was, that's.
there was a
it
lot
little
of
confusing.
flack
Scott and-
between
Okay.
some of the different departments, and
It wasn't anything
nobody got
formalized.
along, and so we're gonna have to make sure that we get someone who's a good fit for Berlin.
Well, another thing with that sort of position, you have to actually give them some authority or
It doesn't work.
it doesn't work. It just doesn't.
I don't know the details of the
Yeah.
authority she was given.
I'm gonna guess that it was limited at best, but
Well, just wanted them to be aware of it, only because it's gonna have to be a good fit.
It will be.
Yeah,
All right.
it will be.
Do we have a motion to close? Lisa's all packed and ready to
yes,
go.
I am ready to go. It's my bedtime.
Ah,
A motion
So
to
moved.
adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Bye, Mr.